Chapter 361. In the demon camp. Qianfeng put on a pure black armor, and stepped into the tent with his cloak fluttering in the wind. He looked around with a gloomy look. There were over 20 people in the tent, all of whom were high-level demons. Pairs of purple eyes were looking at him. Only one of them was an armored demon, a high-rank armor demon. He was the legendary marshal of the Second Corps, Lei Chong. Lei Chong smiled at Qianfeng. The pair of curved fangs on his face looked particularly ferocious. He said in a very clumsy voice, "Marshal Qianfeng, is it a victory?" Qianfeng smiled. "It went well. Thank you for your concern, Marshal Lei Chong." After saying this, he bowed to the young man on the seat and said, "Your Highness, Qinin refused our request. Human beings refused to hand over Linmuyu. Then prepare for war." The third prince's handsome face was filled with cruelty. He toyed with the jade cup in his hand and said, "I can't wait to control the entire Middle Earth. This is the home of our god race. We can finally go home again." "Your Highness." Qianfeng wanted to say something but stopped on second thought. The third prince raised his head and asked, "What's wrong, Marshal Qianfeng, what's the matter?" Qianfeng said, "Can we change the plan? I'm afraid that our plan of water war won't go well." "Why?" Lei Chong hurriedly asked. Qianfeng smiled. "When I was walking in the human camp, I smelled a familiar smell, but I'm not sure." "What smell?" the third prince asked. Qianfeng frowned. "The smell of oil. A strong and strange smell. I heard that human beings have a kind of oil that will burn when it meets fire. It's called black beech oil. Therefore, I'm afraid that the Empire will attack with fire. If they do that, we won't be able to carry out our cube ship plan. Instead, we will suffer undeserved losses." "No," the third prince said resolutely. "We can't change the plan of attack. We've been preparing for this meticulous plan for half a month. We can't wait any longer. Father doesn't want us to wait any longer. We have to carry out the original plan. Marshal Qianfeng, don't worry. You've seen the battle strength of the armored demons. Even if the human beings attack with fire, we can still kill them." "Your Highness, please reconsider." Qianfeng frowned. "Say no more." The third prince stood up, flicked his sleeves and said, "Proceed according to the original plan. 4 hours later, we will start the war. The first warrior to reach the western shore would be rewarded with 100,000 Shindu coins and be conferred the title of general. Whoever captures Qinin will be conferred the title of marshal." Yes, the demon generals cupped their fists in greeting, their faces full of smiles. Only Qianfeng frowned and stood there without saying a word. At dusk, the setting sun shone like blood on the Daojiang River, illuminating 1,000 miles of sparkling water. At Maple Forest Ferry, battleships slowly entered the port. The Navy Captaincy Situ Lai ordered to seal off the port. After much consideration, Lin Muyu decided not to use the battleships to directly participate in the defense. After all, the number of battleships of the Empire Navy was limited. If they burned one, it would be one less. Lin Muyu stood by the river in his Sanctum Grand Deacon battle robe. He looked at the eastern shore from afar. The night wind blew his cape, making it flutter. At the side, Qin Yan, Wei Chou, and Feng Shi were quietly guarding. "Is the black beech oil ready?" Lin Muyu asked. "It's ready." Qin Yan cupped his fists and smiled. "A total of 8,000 barrels of black beech oil. It's enough to burn dozens of miles of land on the river. Big brother, don't worry. The demon race won't be able to attack." Lin Muyu said calmly. "Pass down the order. After the demon race attacks, don't be anxious. Wait until their ships reach the middle of the river before pouring the 8,000 barrels of black beech oil down. Wait until their ships are 30 meters away from the shore before setting it on fire, catching them off guard. Also, wait for the battle by the shore. Shield formation in the first row, archery formation behind. Everyone change to white drill arrows and aim at the heads of the demon race. We must kill one with one arrow. We must not let them go ashore." Yes. The three of them raised their heads. Not long later, the night slowly fell and torches finally appeared on the opposite shore. Just like what Feng Jixing said in the letter, the demon race was preparing to attack. "They are going into the water." Wei Chou squinted his eyes and said as he looked into the distance. Lin Muyu's hand pressed on the hilt of the sword at her waist, her gaze cold as she looked at the opposite shore. Following the splashing sounds of water, huge wooden planks were thrown into the water. The opposite shore was densely packed. At least 5 miles of the demon race's simple and crude warships were everywhere. Luckily, the Fourth Army had enough people and the Empire's defense line was everywhere along the shore. They're here. Wei Chou gripped the demon-devouring bow tightly, a trace of anticipation and excitement flashing through his eyes. Qin Yan's eyes were filled with deep hatred. He was different from Wei Chou. Qin Yan had personally experienced the Battle of Winterfrost City and knew the cruelty and strength of the demon race. To him, this battle was not to establish a career, but to take revenge. Actually, how could Lin Muyu's heart not be like this? How many soldiers of the Empire had been buried in foreign lands, and this demon army in front of her had once again stepped into human territory? If they didn't fight, they would die. The sound of water became especially dense. In the distance, a black mass of demon race warships had already crossed the river. Lin Muyu waited quietly until the other party's warships reached the center of the river. She suddenly raised her hand and said, "Wei Chou, send the signal." Wei Chou raised his hand, and a rocket soared into the sky. Immediately, the soldiers on the shore all opened the oil barrels that they had prepared, and the thick smell of black beach oil filled their noses. Walala walala. A large amount of black beach oil was quickly poured into the water and spread out. The entire west bank seemed to have turned black in an instant. Dang. Lin Muyu slowly pulled out her sword, her gaze cold as she looked at the opposite side and said, "Prepare the fire." The group of soldiers all raised their torches high up. "Please don't retreat." Lin Muyu prayed softly in the bottom of his heart. They didn't disappoint him. The demon army continued to row forward with the bamboo, and were getting closer and closer. Under the moonlight, Lin Muyu watched their movements from afar. She suddenly frowned and said, "Be careful of their spear-throwing attack. Raise your heavy shields." Everyone raised their shields in front of them. As expected, black shadows whizzed over in the night wind. The tyrannical and powerful spears fell on the west shore. The armored demons had such strong arm strength to be able to throw such powerful spears from over 100 meters away. In the next moment, the shield soldiers on the west shore howled miserably. Many people were still pierced through by the spears and died in battle. Looking at the collapsed shield formation, Lin Muyu couldn't help but frown and loudly said, "Brothers, steady!" Under his loud shout, the soldiers of the Longdan army camp all replaced their fallen comrades and raised the shield formation again. The armored demons were getting closer and closer. Qin Yan said, "Big brother, the armored demons can fly. Although it's not far, let's start a fire. Otherwise, it'll be troublesome if they fly to the shore." "Yes, fire." Lin Muyu took the lead and threw thousands of torches into the river. Splash. Flames shot up into the sky, and the light blue flames spread rapidly on the surface of the water. The entire Rice River seemed to have turned into a sea of fire, and how could the speedily moving ships stop? In an instant, all the ships at the front were set ablaze, and under the night breeze, the flames spread to the ships at the back. Ah! Countless armored demons were dancing in the fire. Although the armored demons had thick skin and rough flesh, once the wings behind them were burned, they were really finished. In an instant, many armored demons all jumped off the ship. However, they didn't know how to swim. They just flopped a few times and sank one after another. They were buried in Rice River. Ha ha! The Empire's soldiers on the west shore roared with laughter. Their faces were filled with endless excitement and joy. Lin Muyu squinted her eyes and looked at the square ships that were still moving in the fire. She loudly said, "Don't underestimate the enemy. Prepare for close combat. They're coming. Everyone be careful." Sure enough, although it was on fire, the momentum of the square ships didn't stop. They quickly reached the shore. Armored demons covered in flames pounced on them. Although most of them fell to the ground and cried miserably halfway. "Shoot them to death with arrows," Qin Yan loudly said. Thousands of arrows were fired on the shore. Perhaps the fire made the armored demons lose the protection of their hard armor. Very soon, they were shot into hedgehogs. They fell to the ground while screaming miserably. Their screams were indescribably mournful and desolate. Roar! Behind them, there were still a large number of armored demons coming ashore. Lin Muyu held her longsword and rushed forward, guarding the perimeter of the fire formation. With a wave of her longsword, Sword Chi swept out in an arc, rapidly chopping 3 armored demons into pieces. Qin Yan also held the fire serpent spear and stood at the forefront, stabbing a few armored demons to death with a thrust and retraction of the spear. At the same time, the dragon scale armor on his body shone brightly, bouncing off the javelins of the armored demons. Kill. The morale of the Longdan army camp was greatly boosted. Everyone rushed forward with their sabers and tore the armored demons into pieces. However, some armored demons were very tenacious. They roared and waved their battle axes in the crowd. It was the first time for the soldiers of the Longdan army camp to feel the terror of the armored demons. When a group of people besieged and killed an armored demon, 2 or 3 people would be killed. The entire coast of Daojiang River had almost become a sea of fire. The armored demon corps launched attacks one after another. However, batches of them were shot and chopped on the shore. The tactic of the Longdan army camp was very simple. They let those unkillable armored demons enter the depth of the camp. A group of shield bearers would surround them and kill the armored demons with the help of the spearmen. In this way, the casualties could be minimized to the greatest extent. Swish! The sword light flashed past, and another armored demon's head was chopped off. Lin Muyu rushed back and forth on the shore, as if she was possessed. Suddenly, she raised her fist and directly struck out with chaos of the common life, blasting 5 armored demons that were on fire on the shore into a pile of minced meat. Watch out for the sky! Qin Yan suddenly looked up. As expected, many winged people appeared in the sky with longbows in their hands. They looked ferocious under the illumination of the fire. They shot arrows from the sky and killed many soldiers of the Dragon Empire. You're courting death. Wei Chou turned around and shot an arrow into the sky, directly piercing through the heart of a winged being. He suddenly turned his body. The martial spirit's radiance flourished. After flicking away the winged being's arrows, he shot another arrow, killing another winged being. More and more archers aimed at the sky. If the winged people wanted to kill, they had to get close to the ground. However, their numbers could not be compared with the army of the Dragon Empire. Their corpses kept falling from the sky like rain. Chapter 362. The fire illuminated the riverbank red. With the counterattack of the Imperial Army, the winged demons could only give up on their aerial attacks, leaving thousands of corpses on the riverbank. They probably didn't expect there to be so many sharpshooters in the Imperial Army. In fact, they were just unlucky to run into the Longdan Army camp. Most of the soldiers in the Longdan Army camp were from the temple camp, and the soldiers were originally staff of the temple. They were all skilled in archery, so how could they not be proficient in archery? At the same time, the same thing happened at the other crossings along the riverbank. According to Feng Jixing's order, all the armies started to attack with fire. For a moment, the entire riverbank seemed to be coated with a layer of fire. The screams of the demons echoed endlessly. The armored demons knew that they were going to die, but they still kept charging towards the riverbank, as if they had received some kind of order. Until the latter half of the night, there were no more armored demons' square boats coming from the opposite bank. The flames in the river gradually died out, and the Imperial soldiers along the riverbank began to clean up the battlefield. The corpses of the armored demons and winged people were dragged into the depths of the forest, burned, and buried. Lin Muyu also explicitly ordered everyone who handled the corpses to cover their mouths and noses with cloth to prevent the plague from spreading. However, it seemed that the armored demons were quite healthy and didn't get infected. In the early hours of the morning, the sky turned white, but there was still smoke rising from the riverbank. Many of the armored demons' corpses were still smoking and burning. The armored demons were afraid of fire and water. This was the last straw for the Empire. Lin Muyu's face was full of gray marks. She simply wiped it off, and went to the wounded barracks to check on the situation. Although they killed a lot of enemies in this battle, the Empire still lost a lot of soldiers. The barracks was filled with wounded soldiers groaning in pain. Many of them were injured by the armored demons, and some even had their arms or legs cut off. The medical officers of the spiritual medicine department were bandaging and treating the wounded. Fortunately, there was an abundance of herbs here. Every wounded soldier could be treated, saving many lives. Commander. A wounded soldier hurriedly tried to get up to pay his respects. Lin Muyu hurriedly stepped forward to support him and said, "No need to be so polite, lie down." The wounded soldier nodded gratefully and said, "Commander, this lowly one killed an armored demon." "That's not bad. Did the clerk record it?" "Yes, he has. He said that I will at least be promoted to sergeant when I return to Lanyan City." "That's great. Rest well." "Thank you, Commander." After inspecting the casualty barracks, she returned to the central military tent. Lin Muyu's entire body was exhausted, and she sat down on the commander's seat. The martial spirit golden gourd slowly absorbed the surrounding spiritual energy of heaven and earth to replenish her expended fighting energy, while Qin Yan carried over a large bowl of meat soup and 3 large flatbreads, saying with a smile, "Big brother, eat something first. Killing for an entire night, you're definitely hungry." Yes. Lin Muyu was so hungry that her stomach was growling. She took the food and wolfed it down. She looked up and said, "Yen, summon the clerk. I want to hear the post-war statistics." Yes. A few minutes later, a clerk walked in with a file. After bowing respectfully, he said, "Commander Yu, we killed a total of 7,248 armored demons and 1124 winged people in this battle. There were no captives. They didn't send out any high-level demons. All the corpses of the armored demons and winged people have been immediately disposed of, either buried or burned." "Tell me about our situation," Lin Muyu said. The clerk's expression was not very good. He said, "Our army has a total of 6,874 soldiers who died in battle, more than 13,000 were injured and 25 are missing. So many people died in battle." Lin Muyu frowned and said, "Record the list of those who died in battle in detail, and send it back to Lanyan City. The Ministry of Revenue will distribute the pensions." "Yes, my lord." The clerk said again, "We only have 500 barrels of black beech oil left." "Understood. You may leave." "Yes." At this moment, Wei Chou and Feng Shi walked in side by side covered in blood. Wei Chou's face still carried the excitement of the battle. He said, "Your subordinates greet my lord." Lin Muyu raised her head to look at them, then lowered her head to drink a big mouthful of meat soup. She asked, "Have you eaten?" "Yes, my lord. We don't have enough black beech oil." Immediately urged the Ministry of War to prepare more. Without black beech oil, it will be very difficult to gain the upper hand in the next demon attack. "Yes." Wei Chou grinned and said, "It's said that all the black beech trees in Sangnan province have been cut down. The Ministry of Revenue has mobilized more than 500,000 civilians to collect black beech oil. Even the black beech oil in the Seven Stars Forest has been almost completely collected. I'm afraid this fire attack tactic can't be carried out for a while. Fortunately, we killed a lot of demons this time and should be able to intimidate them." How is the battle situation of the other corps?" Lin Muyu asked. Wei Chou said, "According to the information we just received, our 4th Corps has the most gains and the least losses." Ah. Lin Muyu was stunned. "How is the situation of the other corps?" Wei Chou took out the paper scroll at his waist and said after unfolding it, "The 1st Corps led by Feng Jixing has killed more than 5,000 armored demons, and lost more than 10,000 of their own. The 2nd Corps led by Suyu has killed more than 3,500 armored demons, and lost more than 8,000 of their own. The 3rd Corps led by Xiangyu has killed more than 11,000 armored demons, and lost more than 32,000 of their own. Yao Yuan and Su Long's positions are untouched. The 7th Corps' Tang Lu and Tang Tian brothers have killed more than 1,000 armored demons, and lost more than 9,000 of their own." "My God!" Lin Muyu couldn't help but put down the flatbread in her hand. She said in astonishment, "What is Xiangyu doing? More than 30,000 people died?" "Yes." Wei Chou said, "Lord Xiangyu's position has been attacked by nearly 20,000 armored demons. Therefore the losses are quite high." "Then what are the Tang Lu and Tang Tian brothers doing?" "They killed more than 1,000 armored demons, and lost more than 9,000 of their own? Lin Muyu asked angrily. Are those two vegetarians? Qin Yan said. Big brother, the spy I arranged in the 7th Corps sent me a letter. He said that the Tang Lu and Tang Tian brothers were drinking and looking for pleasure. The day before yesterday, they were having fun with the camp concubines. They only woke up yesterday afternoon and delayed the battle arrangements. When the armor demons were crossing the river, their black beach oil wasn't completely connected. Therefore, more than 1,000 armor demons took advantage of the situation and went ashore. They could only fight in close combat. That's why they lost so many of their own. Only 1,000 armor demons. Lin Muyu gritted her teeth. 50,000 people can drown these armor demons with just a mouthful of saliva. What are Tang Lu and Tang Tian, these two marquises, doing? They are actually playing with the camp concubines. Simply disgraceful. Wei Chou said with a smile. Commander, calm your anger. That's right, I just received a letter. Her Highness Yin will be escorted by Zhang Wei to our Maple Forest ferry position at a later time. They will arrive around nighttime. Her Highness's intention is to inspect the 4th Corps. But from what this general sees, Her Highness is only concerned about Commander. Lin Muyu grinned. What exactly do you want to say? Wei Chou laughed. This general wants to say to immediately order people to boil water. Commander should take a hot bath and go to bed early. Tonight, change into a new set of armor and go see Her Highness. Don't be rude. Isn't that right, Commander? Lin Muyu glared at him and said. When the two armies are facing off, be serious. Don't be so mischievous all day. Yes, this subordinate will order people to boil water for Commander. That's right, Su Yu's position did not have any battles, so she personally led 2,000 Imperial cavalry to escort 4,000 barrels of black beach oil to us. They will arrive around the same time as Her Highness Yin. And got it. She really sent charcoal in snowy weather. Aunt Rue is reliable. Then this subordinate will go down. Good. Lin Muyu wolfed down the rest of the food. When he returned to his own barracks, the water was already boiled. After taking a bath, he hurriedly went to sleep. As the commander of the frontline army, he must recuperate his spirit. Although the demon race had killed a lot of the Empire's army in this battle, it should be considered as a crushing defeat for the demon race. They would definitely not let this matter rest. In his dreams, countless silhouettes floated past. He heard weeping sounds, heard miserable howls, and seemed to hear Qin Yin's soft voice, like a young girl's yearning. He also seemed to hear Tang Xiaoxi's voice, crying loudly, as if pouring out her despair. In his dreams, the collision of the wind cutter blade and the bloodthirsty spear appeared. He heard Xiang Yu's loud laughter, and heard Feng Jixing's angry roars. When he woke up, it was already nightfall. Commander, dinner is ready. Shall I bring it in? Wei Chou said outside the tent. Bring it in. Thank you, Wei Chou. Commander, you're welcome. Are there any movements from the demon race? No, not a single movement. Strengthen the defenses. Yes. At this time, outside the demon race's tent, Qianfeng's sword-like eyebrows were tightly knitted. He paced back and forth in the open space with a gloomy expression. He said to the guard beside him, Is Her Highness still sleeping? Yes. The guard cupped his fists and said, Marshal Qianfeng, why don't you go back and rest first? It seems that Her Highness won't wake up for a while. Rest? How can I rest? Qianfeng was slightly angry and said, We have lost nearly 30,000 armored demon warriors in this battle. This is a crushing defeat that our god race has never suffered before. You want me to rest? The guard was silent like a cicada in winter. Marshal, this subordinate knows his mistake. Please forgive me. Qianfeng didn't argue with him and said, Go in and report again. Say that Qianfeng has an urgent matter and wants to see Her Highness. This? The guard looked embarrassed. Marshal, please don't make things difficult for me. Her Highness the Third Prince said that no one is allowed to disturb his rest. If the Third Prince gets angry, I'm afraid that I won't be able to keep my head. What are you afraid of? I'm here, no one can touch you. Qianfeng was a little angry. He stretched out his hand and pushed. Get out of my way. I must see Her Highness immediately. Voila. The moment the curtain of the tent was opened, Qianfeng saw that the third prince's bed was empty. He was stunned and said, "Her Highness. Where is Her Highness?" The guard trembled and hurriedly knelt on the ground, saying, "Marshal, please spare my life. Her Highness went out with her personal guards at dusk." She said that she had received news that the human Empress Qin Yin had left the camp. Her Highness the Third Prince had decided to assassinate the Empress Qin Yin in the Unicorn Forest. So they have already gone. Marshal, please spare my life. Her Highness asked me to do this. Qianfeng was so angry that his whole body trembled. Nonsense. Simply nonsense. Do you really think that there are no experts in the human race? Chapter 363. Starlight shone brightly in the forest. This forest was called Unicorn Forest. Legend has it that there was once a holy unicorn that appeared in the forest. But at this moment, the Unicorn Forest had become the rear of the human empire's 7 major core. The moonlight shone on the forest floor, creating mottled shadows. On the official road, a convoy was slowly moving forward. The chariots were filled with barrels. Suyu was wearing a female general's robe, riding her horse slowly at the edge of the convoy. Behind her were 2,000 cavalry guards. Including the people transporting the black beech oil, there were about 5,000 people. Lord Commander. The general on the side unfolded the map, looked at it closely and said, "We are only about 5 li away from Commander Yu's 4th Corps. We will arrive in half an hour." Suyu smiled with satisfaction and said, "This time, Yu's victory in this battle is truly worthy of celebration. This battle is enough to prove that he is a rare talented general. I hope that this battle can intimidate the demon race and make them stop at Rice River and no longer advance westward." The general couldn't help but laugh. "I'm afraid this will be a bit difficult. It is said that there is a demon race army of 200,000 people on the east side of Rice River. We only killed 30,000 of their armored demons in this battle. With the main force remaining, it is impossible for these arrogant guys who call themselves the God race to retreat." "Maybe," Suyu bit her lips and said, "it's a pity that brother died early, otherwise brother should be a general now, right?" The general was startled. "Is Commander Suyu thinking about brother again?" Su'er nodded and said, "Father also often misses brother." The general coughed and said with a smile, "Ayu, as your uncle, there are some things that I have always wanted to tell you." He speak forth, uncle," the general said. "Duke Yin is already old, and it is impossible for him to have any children. Great General Su Qin also did not leave behind any descendants. The Su family's only hope is you. Ayu, you are already 34 years old. Why don't you find a son-in-law? As long as you give birth to a son, the Su family will have someone to inherit." Su'er froze. "Fourth uncle, I don't want to marry. You're already so old, and you still don't want to get married. I know you've been hurt by love before, but marriage is a big event in life." "Fourth uncle, there's no need to say any more. My heart has already died with that person, and there's no room for anyone else. If you want Su'er to marry someone else, I'd rather die." Sigh. The brigadier general shook his head. "You are too stubborn." Right at this moment, there was a sudden sound as a guard fell off his horse. He didn't even have the time to let out a miserable groan. With the help of the moonlight, one could see that his neck had been torn apart by an arrow. "There's an enemy. Everyone on guard." Suyu immediately unsheathed her saber. Her face was full of anger as she said, "Heavy cavalry, prepare to attack." Behind her, the Su family's heavy cavalry all raised the shields hanging on the sides of their war horses, raised their spears, and charged forward with Suyu. In the dense forest, arrows flew out one after another, and pu sounds rang out as the Su family's heavy cavalry were shot dead one by one. The ambushers in the depths of the forest had very accurate archery. They were actually able to pierce through the small gaps in the armors and kill the heavy cavalry. It was either their throats or their eyes. It was extremely terrifying. "Raise your shields," Suyu loudly ordered, but the enemy quickly began to aim at the warhorses' eyes. One by one, the heavy cavalry fell to the ground and quickly abandoned their warhorses. They raised their spears and shields and charged forward. Under the moonlight, the assassins in the forest gave up on their bows and arrows. Dang dang dang, sounds of swords being unsheathed could be heard. One by one, they quickly rushed out of the forest. In the flashes of swords, one by one, the armored heavy cavalry were cut down. How is this possible? A resplendent martial spirit appeared on Suyu's shoulder. She spurred her horse forward, and her saber slashed towards the back of an assassin. However, it was as if the assassin had eyes on his back. He leapt up and dodged the attack. His body was in midair, and his sword struck towards Suyu's wrist like lightning. Puffed! Blood splattered, and Suyu could no longer hold on to her saber. Her eyes were filled with shock as she looked at that person. She saw that he was wearing exquisite soft armor, and his eyes were bloodshot. His entire body was enveloped in black fighting chi, and the aura of an expert almost made it hard for Suyu to breathe. Behind them, the heavy cavalry swept past, but the enemy seemed to have no fear. The handsome youth leading them raised the corner of his mouth and shouted, "Kill these annoying cavalry!" Suyu's heart trembled. What kind of person would be so insolent? A group of less than 500 swordsmen actually dared to say that they would kill 2,000 heavy cavalry? But at this moment, Suyu believed that they could do it. The general behind her had already rushed over and shouted, "Commander Suyu is injured. Cover her retreat. Commander Yu's camp is not far away, let's go." Behind them, the heavy cavalry fiercely collided with the enemy. Almost all of the attackers could control black fighting chi, and as a result, the Zither Dragon Army heavy cavalry screamed in pain. Suyu's face was ashen, and her eyes were red. Holding her injured wrist, she spurred her horse forward and said, "Fourth uncle, who are these people?" "High-level demons," the general said angrily. "Let's go, the demons have already entered the unicorn forest. Someone, send a letter to Commander Yu asking for help." Behind them, the 2,000 heavy cavalry couldn't delay them for too long. The enemy's close to 200 people quickly caught up. Their running speed was shockingly fast, not much slower than Suyu. In the 4th Army camp, Lin Muyu was standing outside the camp gate waiting for Qin Yin's arrival. At this moment, Qin Yin rushed over with a letter in his hand and shouted, "Big brother, bad news. Commander Suyu has been blocked by a high-level demon on the official road less than 3 miles from here." High-level demon? Lin Muyu's heart turned cold, and she hurriedly got on her horse and said, "Yin, immediately gather 5,000 heavy cavalry from the Longdan army camp to kill their way over. I will go over first to reinforce them." "Big brother, you have to be careful. I will immediately send Wei Chou over as well." "Alright, you guys hurry up." Lin Muyu grabbed Treading Snow's reins. She didn't need to urge the war horse to rush over. Treading Snow had already merged with Lin Muyu's consciousness, so this kind of horsemanship was already at the peak. Treading Snow was very fast, and in the blink of an eye, they had already arrived at the official road. They could indeed see the flickering torches from afar, and they saw Suyu and a general riding their horses over in a sorry state. Behind them, a large group of demons carrying longswords rushed over on their black battle energy cyclones, and they were filled with killing intent. Buzz. In the night sky, golden light flourished. Lin Muyu took out the golden gourd martial spirit and shouted, "Aunt Lian, this way, I will help you block them." "You." Suyu shouted and passed by, and said loudly, "Be careful, they are very powerful." Lin Muyu had already rushed over. She was afraid that the war horse would be injured, so she leaped up, and the pear blossom spear in her hand was surrounded by golden god-binding chains. She thrust it at the 2 demon swordsmen. Unexpectedly, these 2 demon swordsmen were extraordinarily confident. Their figures flashed, and they actually looked like they were going to dodge the pear blossom spear's attack. "Courting death," Lin Muyu shouted in a low voice. She shook her wrist lightly, and suddenly, there was a burst of brilliance. The spearhead of the pear blossom spear turned into a dense shower of attacks that poured out. It was the Hongchuan form, one of the 12 forms of the dragon taming spear technique. Pft, pft. 2 flowers of blood flew up. These 2 demon swordsmen were both injured. They took a few steps back in disbelief and looked at Lin Muyu. They couldn't believe that this brat in front of them could actually injure them. Lin Muyu's attack was successful. She raised the pear blossom spear and coldly looked at the group of high-level demons. The walls of the golden gourd slowly surrounded her. "Get out of the way." A cold voice rang out, and a high-ranking demon wearing soft armor walked out. He was extremely handsome, and he held a dazzling long sword in his hand. There was a fire snake beast soul coiled around the sword. It was a saint artifact. "Your Highness, be careful," the demon warrior at the side said in a low voice. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. She tilted her head and looked at the demon youth in front of her, and said, "You're actually a highness? I didn't think that a dirty demon race would have a highness." "Impudent," the youth shouted in a low voice. "I am the third son of His Majesty the Demon Emperor Feng Hai." "Brat, what's your name?" "Lin Muyu." "So you're that Lin Muyu that the marshal is so afraid of?" Third Prince Feng Hai smiled slightly. "Just nice. This time, I'll bring your head back. Let's see what the marshal has to say." As he said that, his killing intent surged. He waved his long sword and quickly attacked. Lin Muyu shook the pear blossom spear, and the spearhead pierced forward like a long dragon. Dragon taming spear techniques first form. Seeking directions form. Dang. The third prince's swordsmanship was very brilliant. He easily deflected the spearhead, and his body moved along the spear's shaft like a ghost. His long sword turned into a ray of light, and it was very shocking. It was too late for him to retract his spear. Lin Muyu gave a low grunt, and bolts of lightning flashed from her wrist into the spear. The spear shaft trembled heavily, and with a pung sound, the third prince was forced to slide backwards. It was the dragon taming spear technique's thunderclap stance. Good. Lin Muyu was secretly happy. With a flick of her wrist, the spearhead turned into 3 spiraling streams of energy, and went straight for the third prince's chest. The most overbearing strike of the dragon taming spear technique's 12 forms. Dragon capturing form. The third prince roared, and the do chi in his body revolved rapidly. His long sword pierced through the air. Bang! This guy's strength was very strong. He directly shattered the dragon capturing form, and with his advantage in strength, he crushed Lin Muyu's exquisite technique. At the same time, he opened his hand and grabbed the pear blossom spear, trying to snatch it away. Lin Muyu let go of the pear blossom spear. She raised her hand and pulled out the dragon spirit sword. She slashed down, and 3 golden arcs appeared in the air. Dang dang dang. The third prince had no choice but to let go of the pear blossom spear. In the end, Lin Muyu turned sideways and kicked the pear blossom spear. The spearhead immediately pierced toward the third prince's chest. The group of demon warriors were stunned. "Your Highness, be careful." Buzz. In the midst of the explosion of light, a ball of stardust energy surged in Lin Muyu's left palm, and it rapidly shot toward the third prince. Be *starred. The third prince was furious. He clasped his fists together and attacked with all his might. Bang. So strong. One strike actually shattered the attack of the star incantation's third form. However, it also exhausted the third prince's strength. Lin Muyu passed by him. In the flash of the sword, the third prince's right arm was chopped off with a crack. Blood flowed all over the ground. Ah! The third prince retreated a dozen steps and fell into the grass. His face was pale. He shouted, "Kill him. Let's go together and kill him." Lin Muyu held the long sword majestically. Behind her came the rumbling sound of horses' hooves. The 5,000 elite cavalrymen of the Longdan army camp had arrived. Chapter 364. Ding ding ding. Streaks of sparks splashed around the dragon spirit sword. Facing the encirclement of more than a dozen powerful demons, Lin Muyu only had the strength to parry. Even the walls of the calabash were riddled with holes. When she turned around, she saw Wei Chou and Qin Yan leading 5,000 heavy cavalries charging over. Wei Chou, who was at the forefront, had already drawn his longbow and shouted, "Commander, be careful." Lin Muyu saw it clearly. The falling star steps under her feet surged with light, and she left at lightning speed. Taksha let out a long neigh and rushed over. Lin Muyu flipped onto the horse and charged together with Wei Chou, Qin Yan and the rest. She ordered loudly, "That red-armored demon must be alive. Kill the rest." Swish, swish, swish. The heavy cavalries of the Longdan army camp were adept at archery and horses. Before they got close, they had already shot a round of arrows. However, their opponents were no longer Iha country, but a group of top experts of the demon race. Many of these hundreds of people had already circulated their black demon chi. The black chi formed cyclones and blocked most of the arrows. However, Wei Chao's arm strength was too tyrannical. The white diamond arrow directly penetrated the head of a demon warrior, bringing out scorching brain matter. The third prince lost his right arm, but the expression on his face became increasingly sinister. Holding the long sword in his left hand, he shouted in a low voice, "Warriors of the celestial race, you are the pride of the celestial race. We will never die in the hands of this group of lowly humans. Charge with me and kill them all. We swear to follow your highness the third prince to the death." A group of high-level demons let out a soaring roar. Many of their eyes had already turned blood red. They were exactly the same as the person that Lin Muyu encountered at the Rice River. It could be assumed that the demon race had already tried to encroach on the human territory at that time. It was just that they lay dormant for 3 years before making their move. The iron hooves of the heavy cavalry trampled over with the force of a gust of wind and thunder. Lin Muyu switched to the pear blossom spear, and with a flick of her wrist, she unleashed the Hongchuan style. Golden god binding chains encircled the pear blossom spear, greatly increasing its lethality. 2 demons who attempted to use their black battle chi to resist were directly pierced by the pear blossom spear, turning into sieves. It was a tragic sight to behold. Wei Chou, Qin Yan, and the others pulled out their weapons and slashed wildly in the crowd, charging forward without stopping. However, these high-level demons were not like ordinary infantrymen who would sit and wait for death. They were actually attacking, killing the soldiers of the Brave Dragon Battalion, along with their warhorses. Each of them was filled with killing intent, and their imposing manner was very frightening. After a round of attacks, the high-level demons had lost close to 50 people, but the Brave Dragon camp had lost at least 100 people. Lin Muyu felt a chill in her heart when she saw this. She quickly turned her horse around and charged again, shouting, "Again! Jie." The third prince held onto the long sword with one arm and panted heavily. His face was pale. He finally knew how powerful this group of enemies in front of him was. This group of people were not as weak as the human armies in the Lingdong province and Tongtian province. On the contrary, they were very strong. Be it in terms of strength or willpower, they were far stronger than those people. "Your Highness," a demon warrior with a bloody hole in his shoulder said with a trembling voice, "this group of people is very powerful. I'm afraid we can no longer return to Demonic City alive." "No." The third prince clenched his teeth and said, "I brought you guys here, so I'll definitely bring you guys back." "Yes, Your Highness." When he raised his head, the Longdan army camp's charge had swept over again. The third prince roared and raised his Do Chi to its peak state. However, the strength of his Do Chi was far from what it used to be. Before he could raise his long sword, he was pushed back by Lin Muyu's mountain stagger style. Suddenly, a golden light flashed around him, and gourd vines broke out from the ground and wrapped around the third prince's body, making him unable to move. At the same time, Lin Muyu, who was in front of him, rushed over in her silver armor. She stretched out one hand and grabbed the third prince's arm. She lifted him up onto the warhorse in front of her. She raised her fist and Do Chi swirled around her. Then, she punched the back of the third prince's head and knocked him out. Wei Chou and the rest quickly urged their horses and charged forward, attacking a group of stubborn high-level demon clan warriors once again. The result was almost the same. The demon clan lost tens of people, while the Brave Dragon camp lost over 100 people. "Change to white drill arrows," Lin Muyu said loudly. "Surround them and shoot them with arrows." Yes. After changing their tactics, the Longdan army camp no longer attacked. Instead, a group of people slowly surrounded the demons with shields. Arrows flew in all directions, and the group of demons who only had swords and no shields became living targets. They could only wait to die. The arrows pierced into their bodies, and they were either killed or injured. After a while there was no more resistance from the demons. In the center of the encirclement of the Longdan army camp, a group of high-level demons were lying on the ground. Their bodies were full of arrows. Occasionally, a few groans could be heard, but some of them were actually still alive. "Commander, what should we do?" Wei Chou asked. Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said, "Lock the living ones and bring them back to the camp. As for the dead, bring their bodies back to the camp." Yes. Qin Yan carried the fire serpent spear and arrived in front of a demon's corpse. He stared in shock as the blood energy on this demon's body continuously condensed and finally formed a blood-red bead. He said, "Big brother, what is this?" Lin Muyu had seen this before. After high-level demons died, they would perhaps gather their spirit energy together and form this thing. She said, "Bring it together. It should be a good thing and can help humans cultivate." Yes. At this time, Suyu and her fourth uncle walked over. Suyu's wrist was still dripping with blood. She smiled and said, It's all thanks to you bringing people over. Otherwise, this place would be unimaginable." "Is Aunt Lian's injury okay?" Lin Muyu took out a bottle of healing medicine and said, "This is a top-quality healing medicine. It won't leave a disability. Aunt Lian used this." "And thank you." Suyu smiled gratefully. When she took the medicine, a trace of gloominess flashed across her face. She said, "Unfortunately, most of the soldiers that came with me have died in battle. These high-level demons are very powerful. They are different from the Iha country's army." Lin Muyu cupped her hands and said, "I will send people to collect the bodies of the Zither Dragon Army soldiers and bury them according to the Empire's martyrs' rites. Don't worry, Aunt Lian. And there are still 4,000 barrels of black beech oil over there. Bring them back as well." "Okay." In this battle, the Longdan army camp had lost over 300 people. Of the 500 demons, over 400 had died and 36 were seriously injured. Including the third prince, there were a total of 37. When Lin Muyu led the group back to the city under the moonlight, she saw Qin Yin coming over under Zhang Wei's protection. The moonlight shone on her delicate face and seemed to coat it with a layer of silver light. When Qin Yin saw Lin Muyu and Suyu walking side by side, she immediately went up and said, "Brother Yu, Aunt Lian, are you all right? Who is it that is ambushing our army?" Lin Muyu threw the third prince to the ground and said, "It's these people." "Humans?" Qin Yin was stunned. "No, the demon race. Xiao Yin, you've seen the demon race's martial Qianfeng, right? They are almost no different from humans. If you don't open your eyes, you'll think they are humans." And Wei Chou walked up and carried the unconscious third prince and said, "Darren, what should we do with these demons?" "Treat their wounds. Don't let them die. Lock them up and watch them carefully. They are useful," Lin Muyu said. Suyu got off her horse and cupped her fists. "Subordinate Suyu greets your highness." Qin Yin smiled and helped her up. "Aunt Lian, you don't have to be so polite." "Ah, Aunt Lian, you're injured. Is it serious?" "It's just a superficial wound. I'm fine." Suyu smiled and said, "Fortunately, Yu's Longdan army camp is very elite. Otherwise, we might not have been able to gain an advantage from these demons." Qin Yin nodded. "Oh right, brother Yu. You said these demons are useful. What is their use?" "Oh. Whether or not we can force the demons to retreat depends on these captives." Lin Muyu pointed at the unconscious third prince and said, "I heard these demons call this person your highness the third prince. He must be an important figure in the demon race. He is now an important trump card in our hands. Let's wait for the demon envoy to ask for peace." The fourth army's tent was brightly lit. The third prince's severed arm had already been stopped bleeding and was tied to a pillar with a thick iron chain. Wei Chou poured a bucket of cold water on him, and he immediately woke up. A pair of purple eyes stared at Lin Muyu with incomparable hatred as he angrily said, "Lin Muyu, you bastard. Kill me. Father and brother will avenge me. Just wait to die." "Do you really want to die?" Lin Muyu held the dragon spirit sword in a reverse grip and suddenly pulled it out. She placed the blade across the third prince's neck. The blade was sharp and cut into his skin, causing blood to flow. Under the pain, the third prince clenched his teeth and said, "What do you want?" "I want to ask you some questions. You must answer truthfully." "What if I don't answer?" The third prince sneered. "Then I will kill you. Go interrogate your subordinates one by one." If one doesn't answer, then I will kill them. Lin Muyu's eyes were merciless as she smiled and said, You are a prince of the demon race, so you should know how to sympathize with your subordinates. You don't want them to die for nothing, right? If this is the case, then you must answer all of my questions truthfully. The third prince had a fearless expression on his face, but his hands were trembling behind his back. Who in this world would not be afraid of death, let alone a member of the royal family like him who had lived like a prince? Ask away. Good. Lin Muyu nodded her head in satisfaction and sheathed her sword. She said, How many troops does the demon race have in total? I'm afraid I'll scare you to death. The third prince's eyes trembled as he looked at Lin Muyu, Qin Weichou and Su Yu. Isn't that perfect? If you scare us to death, then you can escape. Hurry up and tell us. Lin Muyu smiled. The third prince was so angry that he gnashed his teeth and said, Listen up. The demon race army is divided into two super armies. The first army is led by Marshal Qianfeng and has a total of 150,000 armored demons, 30,000 winged people, and 10,000 high-level god race warriors. The second army is led by Marshal Lei Chong and has a total of 200,000 armored demons and 50,000 winged people. How about it? Are you scared now? Chapter 365. Lin Muyu frowned as she became a bit scared. According to the third prince, there were 400,000 armored demons in the demon tribe. In the past 2 days, nearly 30,000 armored demons had been killed. She thought that the demon tribe had suffered a great loss. However, it seemed that 30,000 armored demons were just like a drizzle in front of 400,000 armored demons. Behave. Zhang Wei kicked the third prince's crotch and said, If you're so arrogant again, I'll make you a eunuch. Oh. The third prince sucked in a breath of cold air. It seemed that it was a vital point of the high-level demon race. Zhang Wei didn't know how to control his strength. This time it must be painful. Lin Muyu returned to sit beside Qin Yin and continued to ask, Your Highness, the second question is, what's up with the high-level demons that you speak of? I see that you and the others are all wearing a dark golden emblem on your sleeves. Some have 1 star, some have more. What does this mean? Please tell me. The third prince didn't want to say it at first, but seeing that Zhang Wei was drawing circles on the ground, he knew that if he didn't say it, he would have to suffer another kick. So he frowned and said, The high-level demon race is a race that can't be blasphemed. They are the bloodline of the gods passed down from ancient times. Later, they converged into today's imperial family. As for the badge you see, it's just a classification. What classification? Humph. The third prince sneered and said, The high-level divine race cultivates the power of the star sect. We worship the star sect, therefore, we use the star sect as a classification. The high-level divine race is divided into 1-star demon ancestor, 2-star demon ancestor, 3-star demon ancestor, 4-star demon ancestor, and 5-star demon ancestor. The 1-star demon ancestor is the lowest level warrior. The 2-star demon ancestor is the warrior that has comprehended the devil Do Qi, and the 3-star demon ancestor is the warrior that has comprehended the blood eye domain. The 4-star demon ancestor is the expert that has comprehended the blood fiend aura, and the 5-star demon ancestor is the supreme existence of the divine race. Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows and said, Wei Chou. Wei Chou understood, and with a crash, he poured a pile of things in the black bag onto the table. They were all the insignia of the high-level demon race's star sect. He flipped through them for a while and said, Commander, there are 7 people in this group who are from the 3-star demon sect, 200 people from the 2-star demon sect, and the rest are from the 1-star demon sect. I see. Lin Muyu smiled faintly and said, Your Highness, did you only bring this many people with you this time? You didn't even bring a 4-star demon sect disciple with you. Do you think you can destroy an entire legion with just the few of you? I'm not here to attack your army. The third prince glared. Then why are you doing this? Lin Muyu asked. The third prince was stunned. After thinking for a moment, he looked at Qin Yin without saying anything. Lin Muyu's heart turned cold. Your target is Xiao Yin? That's right. The third prince said. As long as we capture the empress of the human race, this war will be over. It's a pity that we failed on the verge of success. How did you get the news that the Empress would come to Maple Forest Ferry? Lin Muyu stared at the third prince's eyes and asked. We naturally have a source of information. Tell me the specifics. Who told you? I don't know. I only know that our people bribed some of your people and obtained some reliable information. That's all I know. As for who it was, I really don't know. Lin Muyu turned to look at Qin Yin, and the two of them looked at each other. They could see the astonishment in each other's eyes. There was actually a spy from the demon race in the Empire's army. Who could it be? No one knew. There was no longer any reliable information from the third prince. He was just a frivolous high-ranking demon. He thought that with just 500 high-ranking demons, he could run amok in the human race's territory. In the end, he suffered a setback. To Qianfeng, Lei Chong, and the other demon commanders, this third prince was a useless teammate. However, to Lin Muyu, the third prince's honesty and bravery was especially cute. All right. Lin Muyu clapped her hands and said, Someone escort the third prince away. Treat him with good food and drinks. Guard him well. Don't let anything go wrong. Wei Chou cupped his hands and smiled. Don't worry, I will personally guard him. That's good. Oh, yes. Wei Chou led the third prince away. However, the third prince didn't forget to turn his head to look at Lin Muyu and said, I eat cloud deer shank every meal. You must prepare some for this prince. Otherwise, I won't say anything else. Qin Yin looked at the third prince's back in disgust and said, Brother Yu, what do we do now? I don't know either. Let's wait. When Qianfeng receives the news, he will naturally come find us to ask for people. Lin Muyu frowned and said, Yan. Yes. What orders does Big Brother have? Send people to the unicorn forest to cut down trees and make some wooden barrels. Secretly fill them with water and place them on the shore. We must let the demons on the west bank see it and do it in secret. Ah. Qin Yan was stunned. Big Brother, using wooden barrels to fill water. Is there any use? There's no other way. Lin Muyu said. Our black beech oil has been used up. We can't let the demons know that we can't use fire anymore. Otherwise, they will immediately attack. I can't imagine what kind of scene it will be after 400,000 demons cross the river. So we can only hide it and delay for as long as we can. So it's like this, I understand. Qin Yan cupped his fists. I'll do it immediately. At the side, Su'er pursed her lips and smiled. Yu is really smart. Even if he can't trick the demons, he can still make them feel some fear. That's right. Lin Muyu thought for a few seconds and said, Xiaoyin, how is the war over at the Iha country? According to what I know, the Iha country should have already started a war with the demons, right? Qin Yin nodded and her starry eyes looked at Lin Muyu. She said with a smile, According to the letter our scouts sent back, the Iha country's 7th commander Long Qianlin has led nearly 200,000 troops to defend the Qinling Mountains. He has already fought against the demons for a long time. Moreover, the commander who led the demon army to attack the Qinling Mountains seems to be that Lei Chong you mentioned. Lei Chong ah. Lin Muyu furrowed her brows and said, I hope Long Qianlin can defend. Otherwise, the Iha country will soon be destroyed, and we will fall into a situation where we can't support ourselves. Qin Yin was startled and said, Brother Yu, you're saying, we have the possibility of allying with the Iha country? And it's not impossible. Unexpectedly, Su Yu said firmly, You never have the idea of forming an alliance with the Iha kingdom. Have you forgotten the blood debt of the Battle of Lanyan City? Chu Huayin, Qin Yan, Luo Lai, so many loyal and brave generals of the empire died under the iron hooves of the Iha country. We can never forget this kind of humiliation. I know, Ansu. Lin Muyu moved her lips and said, I'm only saying that we can do this as a last resort. Qin Yin smiled at the side and held Lin Muyu's hand, saying, I have something else to tell you. And what is it? Commander Xiang Yu has suggested using poison again. Lin Muyu frowned and said, Are we going to pour the blood fruit's poison into the river? Yes, Xiang Yu believes that the demon army of hundreds of thousands is stationed at the edge of the river, and that there's a water source far to the west. That's why they can only draw water from the river to live. Once the water is poisoned, the demons will naturally retreat without attacking. Will the blood fruit's poison be effective against the armor demons? Lin Muyu frowned and said, unless we catch an armor demon and pour the blood fruit's poison into it. If the demon is poisoned to death, then we can use this plan. Otherwise, don't use it. The river won't be able to withstand this kind of torment. And I'll tell Xiangyu what you mean. However, it's not easy to catch a living armor demon. I'm afraid we'll need some time. Don't worry, Qianfeng will come to our camp soon. Alright, then I'll wait here. The northern side of the Qinling Mountains was covered in mottled snow while the southern side was a fertile forest. Banners were fluttering above the Qinling Mountains with the emblem of the Iha kingdom gently swaying in the wind. Long Qianlin, clad in commander's armor, was guarding the mountain with a spear in his hand. He gazed into the distance and said with a frown, Deputy General Liu, the demon camp seems to have moved. Deputy General Liu cupped his fists and said, yes, they've retreated about 5 kilometers, but they haven't gone far. This general believes that their next attack will be even fiercer. In addition, Commander, we don't have enough arrows and more soldiers are getting injured. I'm afraid we won't be able to withstand a few more attacks from the armored demons. Yes. Long Qianlin sighed with sorrow in his eyes. We didn't even receive 10,000 armored demon corpses and lost 70,000 men. If it wasn't for the Qinling Mountains as a natural stronghold, I'm afraid we would have been breached by the demons a long time ago. Deputy General Liu said, Commander has done his best, there's no need to blame yourself. How's the situation over at the Empire? Our people sent over a letter not long ago. Deputy General Liu said respectfully, the Empire's 300,000 troops are defending along the Daojiang River against the First Demon Legion. They used the fire attack that Lin Muyu suggested. In the battle last night, they killed more than 30,000 armored demons and thousands of winged people, but they lost nearly 100,000 men. But the power of this battle has made the First Demon Legion not dare to make any more moves. Long Qianlin's face revealed a touch of relief. With Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing around, I'm afraid it won't be easy for the demons to conquer the Empire's territory. Fortunately, the Empire reduced the defensive pressure by half for us. Otherwise, I'm afraid we won't be able to defend the Qinling Mountains. Deputy General Liu said, Commander's secret order has long said that if there's a chance, we can make a small move to make the Empire's army collapse on its own. What? Long Qianlin was startled. Commander wants to let the demons occupy Lanyan City. Yes. Deputy General Liu's eyes were stern. After all, the demons' hatred for our Iha country is far less than the Empire's hatred for us. Long Qianlin. Chapter 366. Bang. A heavy palm smashed the table into pieces. Qianfeng suddenly stood up and asked with killing intent in his eyes. This is infuriating. His Highness the Third Prince has been captured by Lin Muyu? Yes. A winged person said while trembling with fear. This subordinate saw His Highness and a group of God Race guards being taken into Lin Muyu's city. His Highness has indeed been captured. Hateful. Qianfeng gritted his teeth and said, is there any news from the humans? Did they say how much Shindu coins they want? Or is it to sue for peace or something? Not yet. A high-ranking demon wearing a commander's insignia cupped his fist and said, Marshal, let's attack. The humans don't have that much black beach oil. As long as we attack again, they will definitely be routed. We still have 100,000 armored demons in our hands. No. Qianfeng's eyes were cold as he said, if a problem can be solved with one finger, then don't use 5 fingers. Although the armored demons are strong, they don't know how to fight in the water. It's not easy for Shendu to train these armored demons. I don't want them to die in vain. Then Marshal. What do you mean? Qianfeng squinted his handsome eyes and said, they have captured our third prince. We will capture important people who are easy to capture. Think of a way to lure Tang Lu and Tang Tian out of the city and find a chance to capture them. Yes. The demon general faintly smiled. Tang Lu and Tang Tian have nothing to do all day. After the defeat, they only thought of dispatching troops from Sungnan province. Apart from this, they hunt in the Unicorn Forest to seek pleasure. It is said that the two brothers are still looking for beautiful women in the nearby villages. Leave this matter to this general to handle. No, I will go with you. Be quick. Let's go now. Yes. South of the 7th Army, in the middle of a fertile forest, many villages and towns under the jurisdiction of Seongnan Province were scattered in the depths of the forest. Some were extremely prosperous, and even had a population of tens of thousands. On a small road in the countryside, a group of carriages slowly moved forward. A group of 7 Seas City cavalry escorted 2 people wearing commander's armor. They were precisely the 2 brothers, Tang Lu and Tang Tian. Tang Lu's arm was wrapped in gauze, and some blood was seeping out. He grabbed the reins and looked at the wound. He frowned and said, "Those damned devils, they almost chopped off one of my arms. Humph, they deserve to be burned to death." Tang Tian said, "Second brother, we lost close to 10,000 men this time. I wonder if Her Highness Yin will punish us." The corners of Tang Lu's mouth curled up, and he said with a smile, "Don't worry, our 7 Seas City has a strong army and a large population. Moreover, our businesses are extremely flourishing, and Her Highness Yin is still relying on our 7 Seas City. So long as grandfather is alive, Her Highness Yin won't do anything to us. Don't forget that the 3rd Legion's commander, General Xiang Yu, is also one of us." "That's true." Tang Tian smiled slightly, looked at the carriage behind him, and said, "This time I only spent less than 300 Jin coins to buy an absolute beauty. To think that there would be such a beauty in this wilderness, it's truly unexpected." Tang Lu said, "Grandfather said that cultivators must not be obsessed with women. Third brother, I think you should restrain yourself a little. Didn't second brother also buy a woman to serve in the camp? I only bought one, unlike you, who bought 5 in one go. Can you even use them all? Ha ha ha. I only enjoy this feeling of having them. Right, I heard that the high-level devils also have women, and they call themselves the god race. Moreover, each and every one of their figures are first class. If there's a day that we can defeat the devils, we can also snatch a few devil women back to play with. What do you think, second brother?" Tang Lu's gaze was frivolous. "Haha, you brat, you only know how to enjoy yourself. Wait until we annihilate the devils, then we'll talk about it. What do you want to play with?" Right at this moment, a cold arrow suddenly shot over from afar. Pooh! The leading Chiliarch fell from his horse in response, his throat already pierced. Tang Lu's gaze turned cold as he shouted in a low voice, "Who dares sneak attack our Tang clan's convoy?" There was no response from the people in the forest, only cold arrows shot out, and the cavalry in the front fell from their horses one by one. In the blink of an eye, there were close to 100 casualties. Bastard! Tang Lu's gaze turned cold, and the battle chi around his body exploded. He leaped from the back of his horse and flew over. Raising his palm, golden starlight gathered in his palm as he shouted, "Get out here for me! Star sacrificial seal!" Bang! The star sacrificial seal heavily smashed into the shrubbery, tearing all the plants into powder. However, just as the dust filled the sky, a person rushed over like lightning, and a sharp sword swept across. Dang! Tang Lu's sword had already been unsheathed, but he was forced to retreat several steps by this attack. Blood spurted out from his mouth. He had actually suffered internal injuries in just one exchange. The battle chi in his body was surging chaotically, and he couldn't even use the second star sacrificial seal. The attacker was a handsome demon commander. He wore 5 golden stars on his collar. The corner of his mouth curled up as he said with a smile, "Tang Sek's Firefox seal is only so." "Bastard!" Tang Lu shouted, and his long sword swiftly slashed out as he asked, "Who are you?" "The God Race's 1st Legion's Marshal, Qianfeng." Qianfeng only smiled faintly. He suddenly opened his left hand, and a blood-colored chi wave surged out, forcibly suppressing Tang Lu's long sword. It was the demonic blood breath. This aura was so powerful that Tang Lu couldn't resist it at all. His body was flipped along with the blade of the sword, and it was as if he was being played in the palm of Tang Lu's hand. Break! Qianfeng lightly shook his palm, and the power of the demonic blood breath surged out, instantly knocking Tang Lu unconscious. He didn't say anything else, and he rushed toward Tang Tian, who was in the middle of the cavalry. Tang Tian's cultivation was lower than Tang Lu's, and he was so frightened that his face turned aghast as he shouted, "Protect me!" Dozens of Tang Sec's cavalry rushed forward, but how could they be a match for Qian Feng? Buzz! An invisible domain pressure descended on the surroundings, and it immediately caused the cavalry who were charging forward to freeze. Qian Feng flew over and grabbed Tang Tian, who was on the warhorse. He smiled and said, "Don't worry, I won't kill you. You're still useful." Just when Qian Feng grabbed Tang Tian and retreated, a dark energy suddenly surged out from behind, and dozens of cavalry's bodies exploded into a pile of blood. Master Devil Force. This was a power that humans couldn't understand. "It's over." A centurion's face was pale, and he said, "Quick! Report to General Feng that Marquis Lingbei and Marquis Lingxi have been captured by the devil race. Quickly return." On the other side of the forest, winged people appeared on the branches, and they were holding ropes in their hands. Four winged people dragged Tang Lu's body and flew into the sky. Following that, more and more winged people appeared, and they brought Qian Feng and the other high-level devils along as they flew toward the west bank. The news quickly spread to the other major legions, and Feng Jixing and Xiang Yu rushed to the 4th Legion to meet with Qin Yin. At the same time, in the evening, a cavalry team rushed over from Sangnan Province. It was Tang Lan's cavalry team, and Duke Lan, one of the two dukes of the empire, finally came to the front lines. "Greetings, Duke Lan." Lin Muyu and Xiang Yu stood at the side, and they respectfully greeted Tang Lan, who had just entered the tent. On the commander's seat, Qin Yin, who was wearing an empress's robe, sat there. She faintly looked at Tang Lan entering the tent, and she said, "Duke Lan, you also came?" Tang Lan's face was pale, and he cupped his fists and said, "This old official's sin is not good at disciplining and allowing Tang Lu and Tang Tian, these two good-for-nothing brats, to be captured by the devil race. It's this old official's fault." After saying that, Tang Lan trembled and knelt down. Qin Yin stood up and said, "Duke Lan doesn't need to blame yourself. This matter has nothing to do with you. It's just that Marquis Lingbei and Marquis Lingxi left the camp without permission, and the devil race seized the opportunity." Tang Lan stood up and said with a face full of guilt, "Your Highness, Tang Lu and Tang Tian are the last two male descendants of the Tang family. If something bad happens to them after they went to the devil race's camp, I'm afraid that the Tang family's bloodline will end." Feng Jixing frowned and said, "Duke Lan, do you know that commander you captured the devil race's third prince, Feng Hai, a few days ago? Originally, we could have relied on this devil race's third prince to force the devil race's army to retreat, but today, the devil race's marshal, Qian Feng, has already sent someone to deliver a letter, requesting us to use the devil race's third prince to exchange for Marquis Lingbei and Marquis Lingxi. I'm afraid that this deal will ruin our good situation." This. Tang Lan looked up to the sky and sighed. "If this is really the case, for the sake of the empire's fate, this old official earnestly requests your highness not to agree to the devil race's conditions, and let them retreat. As for Tang Lu and Tang Tian, let them resign themselves to fate." "Duke Lan." Qin Yin smiled and said, "How can we let Duke Lan die without descendants? Don't worry, I've already agreed to Qian Feng's conditions. Tomorrow at noon, we'll exchange for the two marquises on this river." Tang Lan was stunned. "What do you mean?" Xiang Yu cupped his fists and said, "Duke Lan, His Highness has already spoken with Qian Feng's envoy. Tomorrow at noon, we'll each send a warship to exchange people at the center of the river. Both sides can only send 3 people to escort the prisoners, no more." Xiang Yu took a deep breath and said, "His Highness has decided to let this general, Feng Jixing, and Lin Muyu escort the devil race's third prince together, and seize the opportunity to kill Qian Feng." Tang Lan muttered to himself, "I'm afraid that Qian Feng isn't an idiot and won't be tricked so easily, right? That's our advantage," Feng Jixing said with a smile. "Our warships can send over 100 people, so there's no need to talk about trust with the devil race. If we can kill Qian Feng this time, the demon army will definitely retreat. We have no other choice but to go all out." Tang Lan said, "Then we'll have to trouble General Feng and Commander Yu." Feng Jixing and Lin Muyu cupped their fists at the same time, but their hearts were filled with apprehension. After all, no one had truly experienced Qianfeng's strength. But just as Feng Jixing said, they could only do their best. Feng Jixing, Lin Muyu, and Xiang Yu were publicly acknowledged as the top figures in the imperial army in terms of cultivation. If even these three couldn't kill Qianfeng, then it could only mean that the demon race's luck hadn't run out yet. Chapter 367. At night, the camp of the 4th Legion was brightly lit. As one of the 2 dukes of the empire, Tang Lan had a distinguished status. Her tent was arranged beside the Empress Qin Yin's. The candlelight swayed slightly. Tang Lan put away the scroll in her hand, turned to look at Xiang Yu, who had just entered the tent, and said, "You're here." Xiang Yu had a respectful look on his face. "Duke Lan, our people have already been swapped around the tent. Speak, it's fine." "Yes," Xiang Yu said. "Duke Lan, what do you think about the exchange of captives tomorrow? What should I do to rescue the 2 young masters?" Tang Lan sighed with a pale face and said, "I only hate that Xiaoxi is a girl and can't inherit the Tang family's hundreds of years of foundation. It's really a pity and lamentable. Tang Lu and Tang Tian are too engrossed in playing around, and are good-for-nothings." Xiang Yu smiled and said, "Duke Lan is worrying too much. The 2 young masters are still young. When they have enough fun, they will be able to cultivate calmly, and continue to become the pillars of the empire." "Is that so?" Tang Lan glanced at him and said, "Feng Jixing and Lin Muyu are also young, but why aren't they engrossed in playing around and having fun? Their innate talents and potential have long been fixed. I understand these things. At present, we can only hope that they can come back alive and give birth to 1.5 children for the Tang family. At least it won't be to the extent of, they seem to have children a long time ago. Those are all illegitimate children and are not legitimate." "Yes, your subordinate understands." Tang Lan slowly sat down, held the heater in her hands and said, "Xiang Yu, there will be a battle on the river tomorrow. If you are up against Qianfeng, what are your chances of winning?" Xiang Yu was stunned. After thinking for a while, he said, "I don't know. Maybe 50%? You also don't have any chances of winning? Your subordinate has never crossed swords with a high-level demon before, so I don't know their limits." "That's true." Tang Lan squinted her eyes and said, "However, Qianfeng was able to defeat Tang Lu in a single round. This is enough to show how terrifying his strength is. I want you to avoid Qianfeng tomorrow, and let Feng Jixing and Lin Muyu face Qianfeng. You only need to defeat one of the other 2 and rescue Tang Lu and Tang Tian alive. Do you understand?" Xiang Yu's lips twitched. He cupped his fists and said, "I see. Master Lan means it would be best if Qianfeng could kill either Feng Jixing or Lin Muyu, right?" "Yes, it's best to kill both of them together." A trace of ruthlessness flashed across Tang Lan's eyes. As long as Feng Jixing and Lin Muyu are still alive, they will continue to strengthen the Empress's military power. Sooner or later, our Qihai city will withdraw from the power struggle of Lanyan City. Yes, the subordinate understands. Rest assured, Duke Lan. "All right, rest early tonight. Go ahead." "Yes." Not far away, in another tent, candlelight gently illuminated the surroundings. This was Lin Muyu's commander's tent. Due to Qin Yin's arrival, the candlelight seemed to have become warmer. Lin Muyu leaned against the side of the bed with his arms crossed and his eyes closed. The power of the stars was slowly circulating between his arms. A demonic spirit bead from a 3-star devil sect hovered in front of his chest, and was being slowly refined by him. The power of the demonic spirit bead was extremely tyrannical, and was also the biggest weakness of the devil race. The demonic spirit bead of a high-level devil race could be refined by humans. This seemed to mean that if the devil race didn't exterminate the humans, it would definitely be the humans exterminating the devil race. Qin Yin sat on the side of the bed. The Empress's robes were scattered on the bed. She was placing Lin Muyu's legs on her own, and massaging Lin Muyu's legs with a smile on her face. In the world, perhaps only Lin Muyu could have such a rare encounter. After a long while, Lin Muyu slowly opened his eyes and took a deep breath. The demonic spirit bead turned into a blood-colored airwave that circled around and seeped into Lin Muyu's body. In the blink of an eye, the spiritual energy of the demonic spirit bead, was successfully refined into pure white battle energy for his use. For a moment, his entire body felt comfortable, and the power in his body was overflowing. How was it? Qinin asked with a smile. It went very smoothly. Lin Muyu said. Xiaoyin, you should also try to refine these demonic spirit beads. This will greatly increase the speed of your cultivation. But, Qinin blinked her eyes and said, what's the difference between refining the demonic spirit bead of the demon race and eating humans? This world is like this. The demon race also ate the corpses of our 100,000 Yangwei Legion in Winterfrost City. War is merciless, and there is no mercy to speak of. I know, but Qinin still found it difficult to accept this kind of cultivation method. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. She sat up, hugged her shoulders and said, it doesn't matter. If Xiaoyin doesn't want to refine the demonic spirit bead, then don't. Let me do this kind of thing alone. Okay. Qinin nodded gently and said, tomorrow is the battle against Qianfeng. Are you confident? No. Lin Muyu shook her head and said, Xiaoyin, do you still remember Lei Chong? He was the commander of the second demon army. I know. The third prince of the demon race said that Qianfeng's strength isn't below Lei Chong's. I fought with Lei Chong in Winterfrost City, and I had no chance of winning. If I had to force a chance of winning, I don't even have a 20% chance of winning against Lei Chong. But tomorrow there will be Big Brother Feng and Xiangyu. If the three of them join forces, it's hard to say. I don't think Xiangyu will join forces with you. Qinin looked at him with watery eyes and said, anyway, you have to be careful tomorrow. Tang Lu and Tang Tian can die, but nothing must happen to you. This doesn't sound like something Her Highness would say. I'm talking to you as Xiaoyin now. Qinin looked at him with her beautiful eyes and said, in short, I don't want anything to happen to you. You must come back safely. Don't worry. Lin Muyu nodded. It's getting late. Let me send you back to rest. All right. Thus, after sending Qinin back to the Empress's tent, Lin Muyu returned to his own barracks. His love for Qinin didn't seem to have much desire. It was just based on feelings and etiquette. It wasn't that he didn't want Qinin, but it wasn't the right time. He didn't want to be disturbed by all these things. After all, there was still a battle of life and death waiting for him the next day. The next day noon, Qinin, dressed in a dark blue cloak, arrived at the riverbank. The officials surrounded her, and the cloak fluttered slightly. The golden embroidery on it looked like a dancing golden butterfly. Tang Lan stood beside Qinin and said, Your Highness, it's all my fault. Qinin pursed her lips and smiled. Don't blame yourself, Master Lan. Otherwise, I really don't know what to say. Now we can only pray for Commander Yu, General Feng, and Commander Xiangyu. Okay. Wei Chou looked calm. He held a longbow in his hand and led a group of soldiers from the Longdan army camp into the cabin quietly. He looked up at Lin Muyu on the deck and said, Commander, remember to give me the secret signal when you need us to make a move. There's no need for the secret signal. Lin Muyu smiled. Once we start fighting, I'm afraid we won't be able to keep this ship. You and everyone should be careful. After we fall into the water, just use the white drill arrows to reinforce us. Yes, I understand. On the deck, Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, and Xiangyu stood side by side. Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing were wearing the white robes of the Imperial Guards, while Xiangyu was wearing the black cloak of the Empire's commander and holding the bloodthirsty spear in his hand. Your Highness, we are going. Feng Jixing bowed and said. Lin Muyu and Xiangyu also slowly bowed. Qinin took a step forward and stood on the shore. She bowed to the three of them and said with a smile, I wish the three generals a smooth and victorious return. Thank you, Your Highness. Set sail. Under Feng Jixing's command, the oars slowly swayed, and the warship quickly left the port, heading straight for the opposite shore. The war drums rumbled, and on the opposite shore, a boat was obtained from an unknown place. It was just a medium-sized fishing boat, and even if it was filled to the brim, it wouldn't be able to fit 30 people. In the distance, Qianfeng stood on the bow of the ship with a sword in his hand. His eyes were cold, and behind him were two demon experts wearing black soft armor. Their chests were inlaid with the dark gold star sect insignia. Each of them was a 4-star sect expert. They were probably much stronger than Feng Hai, who was a 3-star sect expert. Xiang Yu gripped the bloodthirsty spear tightly and said with a smile, "This Qianfeng really has the demeanor of a grandmaster. He is an expert that can't be ignored." Feng Jixing smiled slightly. "Lord Xiang Yu is known as the Empire's god of war, and he is known to be invincible. I will leave this Qianfeng to you. As for the other 2 4-star sect experts, leave them to me and Commander Yu." General Feng's words are wrong. Xiang Yu smiled. Everyone knows that General Feng has stepped into the Saint Realm and reforged the Wind Cutter blade. Right now, he can be said to be a sharp blade, and Commander Yu is a peerless genius with dual martial souls, the Golden Gourd and God-binding lock. No matter what, this Qianfeng is not someone that I, Xiang Yu, can fight, right? Feng Jixing sneered. He knew that Xiang Yu would not challenge Qianfeng. No matter how arrogant he would not suffer this kind of loss. "All right then," Feng Jixing said indifferently. "In a while Commander Yu and I will challenge Qianfeng. Commander Xiang Yu only needs to rescue the 2 Tang clan young masters." Yes, the subordinate obeys. Xiang Yu cupped his fists and put on an obedient appearance. Lin Muyu only sneered inwardly. Xiang Yu had no intention of killing Qianfeng here at all. What he wanted was nothing more than for her or Feng Jixing to lose one, or both of them to die in the middle of the river, right? Fortunately, there were still 100 elites from the Longdan army camp in the cabin. When the time came, they should not be defeated by a barrage of arrows. Lightly pressing her palm on the sword at her waist, Lin Muyu said softly, "We are arriving soon." In the middle of the river, the warship stopped at the same place. In the distance, Qianfeng's medium-sized fishing boat also slowly swayed over. He looked over with a smile and said, "Commander Feng Jixing, we meet again." Feng Jixing cupped his fists and smiled. "Marshal Qianfeng, where are our 2 young masters? Men, bring them up." After Qianfeng gave the order, 2 demon warriors pushed Tang Lu and Tang Tian out. They looked fair and plump, and they didn't suffer any hardships. "Now, where is His Highness the 3rd Prince?" Qianfeng said. "Men, bring them up." 2 soldiers from the Longdan army camp brought Feng Hai up. His back was still tied with stone shackles, and it was difficult for him to escape for a while. Qianfeng's palm held the hilt of the sword and slid it gently. The sound of the blade being unsheathed was very clear. He smiled and said, "All right, can we make our move now?" Chapter 368. It's too direct, I can't accept it for a moment. Feng Jixing's handsome face was full of smiles. As he spoke, he had already unsheathed his wind cutter. The purple electric flame wolf martial soul circled around his body, and his fighting aura instantly rose to its peak state. His fighting aura spun rapidly around his palms, turning into a whirlwind fighting aura. This was an ability unique to the first layer of the Saint Realm. The destructive power of the whirlwind fighting aura far exceeded that of ordinary fighting aura. This was one of the advantages of the Saint Realm. Xiang Yu raised his fighting aura almost at the same time, and a domain descended in the surroundings. Immediately, the 2 ships stopped moving at almost the same time. Instead, the water level in the middle of the river dropped rapidly under this invisible pressure, quickly forming a basin-like whirlpool. Lin Muyu hadn't stepped into the Saint Realm yet, but her power was in no way inferior to Feng Jixing and Xiang Yu. The dragon spirit sword shone brightly, and the light of the god-binding chains flowed around the sword. She suddenly opened her left hand, and a huge golden gourd wall appeared in front of the warship. She said in a low voice, "Big brother Feng, let's go together, Xiang Yu will snatch her." "Okay." Lin Muyu pushed the gourd wall and leaped forward. She raised her sword, and a starlight appeared on the dragon spirit sword. The starlight merged with the sword chi, and she slashed out. Qianfeng couldn't help but laugh. "I'll deal with Feng Jixing, the left general against Xiang Yu, and the right general against Lin Muyu." The right general was a 4-star demon ancestor. He wore soft armor and covered his nose and mouth, revealing only a pair of light purple eyes. However, his eyes were full of ferocity, as if he couldn't wait to tear Lin Muyu to pieces with his eyes. The blade in his hand spun slightly and flames rose. At the same time, A blood-red vortex surrounded the blade, and he slashed at Lin Muyu's sword. Bang! The starlight collided head-on with the demonic aura, and an explosive impact suddenly erupted. Lin Muyu stood majestically in the air, while the left general was knocked back several steps. A trace of shock flashed across his eyes. He probably didn't expect there to be such a strong human. Again, the hostility in his eyes grew stronger and stronger. His long sword attacked like lightning, but Lin Muyu blocked it with the wall of the gourd and the blade of the sword. She felt that the general of the right's swordsmanship was very brilliant. Each sword was faster than the previous one, and the strength was also stronger than the previous one. It was like a continuous river. Under the rapid attacks, Lin Muyu's defense naturally showed flaws. Ha! The general of the right shouted. As a 4-star devil ancestor, he naturally would not let go of such an opportunity. His longsword was like a venomous snake as it drilled toward Lin Muyu's ribs. Lin Muyu saw it clearly. Her body spun rapidly, and at the same time, she avoided this attack. Her dragon spirit sword clasped the hilt of the general of the right's sword. Her left fist was filled with the true dragon essence fire, and the profound energy of the true dragon arm holding a resplendent star. She smashed it toward the general of the right's back. A dense force attacked from behind, and the general of the right naturally had to guard against it. He held the hilt of his sword tightly with both hands and pulled away from Lin Muyu's restraint. At the same time he roared, and a blood-colored cyclone quickly condensed behind him. It was another extremely tyrannical demonic aura. Bang! The blood-colored cyclone, the true dragon essence fire, and the power of the star burst out together, forming a flaming wave that rushed out. Lin Muyu's arm was in pain from the impact. If this 4-star devil ancestor was so powerful, then wouldn't the 5-star devil ancestor, Qianfeng, be even more powerful? Raising her head, she saw Feng Jixing and Qianfeng's swords clashing together. The raging cyclone aura and the demonic aura instantly exploded. The power was so strong that the two boats on the surface of the water could not withstand this kind of pressure. With two pung-pung sounds, the boats broke apart. Wei Chou and the others quickly fell into the water. At the same time, they could see that there were also dozens of devil race experts hidden in Qianfeng's boat. Wei Chou, kill! Lin Muyu ordered loudly. At the same time, her body fell into the water. She quickly raised her battle energy and filled her feet. The airflow surged on the surface of the water, and she forced herself to not fall into the water. Not far away, the general of the right also stepped on the surface of the water. His eyes had already turned blood-red. That was the power of the Blood-Eye domain. Boom! Xiang Yu's powerful primal chaos energy exploded in the crowd of devil race. At the same time, it coordinated with Wei Chou and the others' white diamond arrows. A few devil race warriors quickly fell to the ground and died in battle. Xiang Yu rushed forward and grabbed Tang Lu and Tang Tian with each hand. He shouted, "Send the two young masters back first." As he said that, he spun around twice like throwing sandbags and directly threw Tang Lu and Tang Tian to the west bank. They flew for close to 100 meters and landed in the shallow water. Capture the third prince of the devil race, Wei Chou said anxiously. However, Qianfeng naturally would not let him do that. He descended from the sky and the demonic aura turned into a formless blood net and instantly shattered the bodies of dozens of Longdan army camp soldiers. He opened his hand and grabbed the third prince's remaining arm and pulled him out of the water. He shouted, "Protect the third prince and bring him back." Quickly, resplendent rays of light descended from behind. It was Feng Jixing's blade dance. The wind cutter blade turned into millions of blades and descended from the sky. Qianfeng was shocked. Feng Jixing's wind cutter blade was extremely sharp. The raging whirlwind Do ray was also exceptionally powerful. He had no choice but to guard against it. Qianfeng stepped on the surface of the water and spun his body. His movement technique was abnormally exquisite. He stepped on the surface of the water in an arc and thrust his longsword towards the sky. This sword was accompanied by a sharp whistling sound. It contained the power of a Grandmaster Devil Force. Naturally, it was not that easy to dissolve. Bang! The power collided in the sky and sparks soared into the sky. Feng Jixing spat out a mouthful of blood. His arm was also cut by the sword qi. His entire body fell to the surface of the water not far away like a kite with its string cut. Qianfeng was truly powerful. Even Feng Jixing was no match for him. Fortunately, this was Wei Chou and dozens of Longdan army camp soldiers standing on the broken deck. They raised their longbows and shot a round of arrows. The white diamond arrowheads were incomparably sharp. Qianfeng had no choice but to turn around and release his blood demon breath to disrupt the arrow's flight path. In an instant, the sky and earth were dyed scarlet. The blood demon breath spread out into a huge curtain and blocked all the white diamond arrows. At this moment, a low shout suddenly came from behind. Xiang Yu had arrived. Qianfeng turned pale with fright. The bloodthirst spear pierced through the air at an extremely fast speed. Dang! Qianfeng only had time to use his long sword to block the bloodthirst spear. However, he saw Xiang Yu's eyes filled with ferocity. His battle boots were surrounded by raging flames as he swept across the water and kicked at him. Oh no! Qianfeng trembled all over. He had no time to react. He could only watch helplessly as the third prince's head was forcibly crushed by Xiang Yu's battle boots. Bang! Blood and mince flesh splattered and bounced off the blood demon breath. Qianfeng held the third prince's body in his arms. He stood on the water as if he had been petrified. The next moment his eyes became extremely fierce. He roared, "You dare to kill the divine race's prince? I will make all of you pay with your lives." Raising his hand, Qianfeng threw the third prince's body to the east bank. Then, with a shake of his long sword, he pounced on Xiang Yu. His whole body was surging with master devil force, and a whirlwind force appeared around his body. Finally, this devil marshal became serious. Bang! The general of the right's forceful punch was blocked by Lin Muyu's gourd wall. He suddenly wiped the corner of his mouth and pounced on Lin Muyu again with a grim smile. This 4-star devil grandmaster had completely gone crazy. Only by killing Lin Muyu could he probably break out of this crazy state. However, Lin Muyu naturally didn't want to be killed. She paid attention to the distance while fighting. After Xiang Yu kicked the third prince's head, Qianfeng was completely enraged. As a result, Qianfeng brandished the master devil force and fought fiercely with Feng Jixing and Xiang Yu. He even faintly gained the upper hand. Obviously, his strength was far superior to any one of Feng Jixing or Xiang Yu. As for the general of the left, he was already waving his long sword and standing together with Qin Yan. Qin Yan's dragon scale armor was indestructible, so he could hold on for a while. Moreover, there was Wei Chou and the other people from the Longdan army camp to reinforce him with arrows. Qin Yan should be in an invincible position. The only variable was Lin Muyu. As long as he could quickly get rid of the general of the right, he could go and deal with Qianfeng with 3 against 1. Speaking of which, it was really shameful. The 3 supreme commanders of the human empire were outnumbered. If this spread out, the face of the Qin Empire would be completely lost. However, a peerless powerhouse like Qianfeng was naturally worth it for them to lose face. The blood in her body was surging. Lin Muyu wiped the blood that had spilled out from the corner of her mouth, and raised her head to look at the general of the right. The general of the right was in an even worse state. There were already 2 sword wounds on his chest and arm. Although his swordsmanship was slightly better than Lin Muyu's, he lost in terms of defense. Lin Muyu's black tortoise shell, battle armor, and dragon scale wall could all protect her from harm. On the other hand, the general of the right only had the defensive effect of the demonic blood breath. It was a pity that the dragon spirit sword was too sharp, and it was also enhanced with the attack effect of 8 layers of god-binding chains. The demonic blood breath couldn't block it at all. Clang! The blades twisted together again. The general of the right let out a roar, and an invisible suction force was produced on the longsword. It was this swordsmanship again. Lin Muyu made a prompt decision. Her battle chi surged, and a whirlwind of battle chi was formed around the dragon spirit sword. She also used the sword absorption technique to counterattack. Squeak! The 2 swords twisted together and made an ear-piercing sound. When the 2 of them were in a stalemate, Lin Muyu swung her left arm. Her palm was filled with the power of the star mantra, and she blasted it toward the general of the right's face. Bastard! The general of the right was finally willing to speak. After a roar, he met the attack with an iron fist. His fist was surrounded by the power of the demonic blood breath, but he had no idea how powerful Lin Muyu's palm was. The stars transformed into stardust and condensed into the shape of steel and starstones. This was the invincible third strike of the star mantra. 5 mountains descend from the sky. Bang! As the palm fell, the general of the right's fist suddenly burst out with blood. He was pushed back by Lin Muyu's palm, and the fist landed hard on his face. His nose bone was immediately broken, and blood flowed continuously. The mask on his face also fell off, revealing a wisp of white beard. This general of the right was considered quite old in the Devil clan, but he was defeated by a young human general like Lin Muyu. It was really embarrassing. You will regret this. The general of the right withdrew his longsword and ran away. The demonic blood breath lingered under his feet, and he stepped on the waves to escape to the east bank. Lin Muyu stood in the same place and looked at the general of the right calmly. Suddenly, the corner of her mouth rose. Crack! The general of the right's head rolled down from his neck. Under the sunlight, the shadow of a flying knife was reflected on the water surface. The invisible demonic noise knife had once again performed a meritorious deed. Otherwise, it would not be easy to kill the general of the right who was protected by the demonic blood breath. Chapter 369. Blade Dance. The long blade spun rapidly in the air. The impenetrable defense blocked all of Qianfeng's sword chi. Feng Jixing's body was covered with a vast and mighty whirlwind battle glow. His cloak fluttered in the air, making him look like a deity. However, the expression on his face wasn't too good. His face was extremely pale. He had used up too much of his battle chi. Furthermore, he was injured. His arm was bleeding non-stop. The long sword in Qianfeng's hand was like a god of death, and several consecutive fierce lights bloomed on Xiang Yu's shoulder. If it weren't for the protection of his battle armor, Xiang Yu's body would have been chopped into pieces. Die! Qianfeng's long sword turned into a storm, sweeping down, and went straight for Xiang Yu's body. At this moment, a trace of fear flashed across the eyes of Xiang Yu, the famous descendant of the Empire's pride. But half a second later, this fear turned into anger. He raised the bloodbath spear, and the fighting chi around him was raised to the peak state. The space seemed to be completely distorted, and chaotic ancient runes lingered around his body. The bloodbath spear glowed with light, and he shouted, "The seventh style, heavenly reincarnation." Boom! The water in the middle of the river completely exploded. Qin Yin and the others on the shore were dumbfounded. This was not a battle between humans. It was like a battle between gods and demons. On the other side of the river, a group of armored demons who were afraid of water widened their eyes and watched the battle on the river. They kept howling as if they were cheering for Marshal Qianfeng. Even though Xiang Yu had mastered the seventh style of the Chaos 9 strikes, he was still no match for Qianfeng's absolute strength. At the beginning, they were locked in a stalemate, but now he was at a disadvantage. The fierce wind swept Xiang Yu's body directly to the bottom of the river, and Qianfeng held his long sword and slashed at Xiang Yu's head. Clang! The blade of the sword slashed on the long handle of the bloodbath spear. The Grand Master's demonic power surged wildly, and the biting cold force forced all the river water away, blasting Xiang Yu's sword into the mud at the bottom of the river. Bastard! If you dare to kill His Royal Highness, I'll take your life. Qianfeng's face was filled with killing intent. Right as he was about to deal with Xiang Yu, a cold blade energy struck him from behind. It was Feng Jixing's blade, and this time Feng Jixing didn't use Heaven-Swallowing Blade. Instead, he used the frenzied blade from Fire Badger Valley 2 years ago, Hate Heaven Path. The saber intent transformed into a raging saber that soared into the sky. Feng Jixing had staked his entire lifetime's worth of cultivation on this saber. If this saber still couldn't defeat Qianfeng, then this battle in the heart of the river would most likely end in failure. Qianfeng's eyes turned cold, and his heart couldn't help but tremble. He hurriedly turned around and gave up on Xiang Yu. He held his long sword and rushed toward Feng Jixing. He raised the corner of his mouth and laughed loudly. Today, if I, Qianfeng, can defeat all the peak experts of the human race one by one, it will be considered a great achievement. Feng Jixing, although you are very strong, you'd better be prepared to accept failure. As he spoke, Qianfeng roared and gathered the Grand Master's demonic power around him. Instantly, the river water spun wildly and formed a huge water column storm. The Grand Master's demonic power was contained in it, and the power of this attack could be said to be extremely terrifying. Bang! The Hate Heaven Path's saber collided with the power of Qianfeng. In an instant, heaven and earth dimmed. The power of the shock had already caused Feng Jixing to vomit blood and fall from the sky. He no longer had the power to fight. You can die now. Qianfeng suddenly bent his body slightly in midair and suddenly threw out the long sword. Was he trying to take Feng Jixing's life through the air? The river water all over the sky turned into a rainstorm and fell. Feng Jixing's power almost fell to the bottom. He could only watch the sword fly toward his heart, and he didn't even have the strength to dodge. At this critical moment, a golden shuttle flew over from not far away. It was the dragon spirit sword. Clang! The two swords collided in the air, directly knocking Qianfeng's long sword askew. Feng Jixing let out a long sigh. That was close. Fortunately, you is here. My God, this Qianfeng is too strong. Lin Muyu stepped on the water and went straight to Qianfeng. She opened her right hand, and wisps of river water rose from the surrounding water and turned into sharp blades. It was the mantra of using water to control the sword. Without the sword in his hand, Qianfeng sneered. He opened his arms slightly and shook them slightly. The Guru Devil Force surged around him. He shouted in a low voice, Lin Muyu, come on. Let me see how powerful you are. You can escape from Lei Chang's warhammer and kill my general of the right. Lin Muyu suddenly opened her palm, and suddenly thousands of water swords rushed toward Qianfeng. The Guru Devil Force spat out like a sky curtain, but the thousands of water swords could not break through. But when the water sword splashed, Qianfeng's eyes turned cold. He saw a sword blade piercing through the shield wall of the Guru Devil Force and going straight to his eyes. Good timing, Qianfeng shouted and raised his arms together. Streams of blood-colored cyclones wrapped around the dragon spirit sword like cotton. He tore it violently, and suddenly the dragon spirit sword lost its aim. At the same time, it rushed toward Lin Muyu. Blue starlight rose into the sky. Lin Muyu let go of the hilt of the sword, and her left hand was full of the power of 5 mountains falling from the sky. Then she punched at Qianfeng's face. What? Qianfeng hurriedly took a step back, raised his hand to catch Lin Muyu's fist, and the Guru Devil Force surged. Bang! Rocks and stardust exploded in an instant, and Qianfeng and Lin Muyu took a few steps back at the same time. But after this blow, the blood vessels in Lin Muyu's left arm burst, and streams of blood spilled on the river. The Guru Devil Force was too strong. Lin Muyu was not a match for it at all with the power of the star art. No wonder Xiang Yu and Feng Jixing, two sanctuary powerhouses, were defeated so miserably. But Qianfeng, who had fought 3 masters in a row, was not much better. His face was frighteningly pale. Looking at Lin Muyu's injured left arm, he couldn't help but smile and say, "If you were a demon, we would be good friends." Lin Muyu's eyes were calm, and she said coldly, "You don't deserve it. Then I can only send you to hell." Qianfeng laughed, his hands hanging naturally, and the vigorous Guru Devil Force surged in his palms. He said, "I haven't used this move for a long time. It's rare that you can force me to use my unique skill." For a moment, time seemed to freeze, and a powerful storm emerged behind Qianfeng. Could man overcome nature? Many people said no, but Qianfeng seemed to be able to. He was controlling a powerful superstorm, which was driven by pure energy, and the raging power of the blood devil breath could be seen with the naked eye. If this blow swept over, not only Lin Muyu, but also Qinin, Feng Jixing, and others behind him would be affected. "Are you crazy?" Lin Muyu roared. "This is just a battle between us. Why do you want to kill others?" Qianfeng laughed. "If they are not of my race, so what if I kill them? Besides, when our 2 armies fight, it is a life and death battle. Even if I kill the human army on the shore, it is not too much, right?" "Good, very good." Lin Muyu gritted her teeth, and there was boundless anger in her eyes. Originally, she did not want to use this move that would waste her life, but she had to use it. In an instant, She looked up at the sky that was beginning to turn dark. It was noon, but it seemed that stars had appeared. Thousands of starlight from the heaven realm gathered on her body, and the power of the 7 luminaries' dark force and the star arts in her body were crazily jumping together. The star arts brought the power of thousands of stars, and the 7 luminaries' dark force brought destruction. When they merged together, it was the proudest move of the 7 luminaries' demon emperor. 7 luminaries stars transformation. Lin Muyu stood on the water surface and gently raised her palm. Wisps of stars in the sky fell into her palm, and in the blink of an eye, it seemed to condense into a galaxy. When Qianfeng waved the storm, Lin Muyu also waved the powerful move. 7 luminaries stars transformation. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of the explosion reverberated between heaven and earth. Bright stars penetrated the storm and fiercely smashed on Qianfeng's Grand Master Devil Force Qi Wall, and then penetrated through the Qi Wall and directly hit the group of armored demons on the other side of the river. At the same time, this desperate move also made Lin Muyu very uncomfortable. The fragments of the storm swept over, like sharp blades, and cut open wounds on his body. For a moment, the armor on his body was already broken. Boom! The power of the 7 luminary stars transformation completely exploded on the other side of the river. And with the power source of the god binding chains, it actually blasted nearly 100 meters of the other side of the river into a puddle. Whether it was the armored demons, the land, or the forest, all turned into nothingness, as if they had evaporated from the world. Wah! Qianfeng took the most direct hit of the power of the 7 luminaries transformation, and finally could not resist it. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and his body flew to the other side of the river like a kite with a broken string. He was finally defeated. Lin Muyu's body swayed and fell into the water, sinking continuously. The power of the 7 luminaries transformation, in addition to the injuries on his body, had almost taken away half of his life. On the shore, Qin Yin's pair of beautiful eyes were covered with a layer of mist, and she suddenly pulled out the purpling sword and said, "Quick, go and save him." Wei Chou, Qin Yan, and the others hurriedly returned to the river and rushed into the water with Qin Yin to save Xiang Xiaolong. Feng Jixing stumbled to the shore, and his face was pale. He sat down in the mud and grinned. "This battle is really exciting, exciting, exciting." Tang Lan's face was pale, and she said, "Someone quickly go to the bottom of the river and rescue General Xiang Yu." Yes. A group of Tang sect soldiers rushed into the water one after another and swam to the deepest part of the river. They pulled Xiang Yu's battle robe out of the mud and dug him out from the depths. Fortunately, Xiang Yu was a sacred domain expert, and his need for air was not as strong as ordinary people, so holding his breath for a few minutes was not a problem. Qin Yan personally carried Lin Muyu's body out of the water. Qin Yin stood guard at the side, her face full of anxiety as she grabbed Lin Muyu's hand that was full of wounds, and asked, "Big brother Yu, are you all right? Quickly open your eyes and look at me." Under her shaking, Lin Muyu slowly opened her eyes. Feeling that her body was extremely frail, she smiled faintly and said, "Xiao Yin, I'm fine. Don't worry, I'm fine." Qin Yin nodded her head forcefully. Lin Muyu raised her head to look at the person hugging her, and could not resist saying, "F***ck, Ayan, it's you who's hugging me." "Quickly put it down, you can't. We're all men, we can't be like this." Qin Yan was so anxious that his eyes turned red, and he said, "Big brother, don't joke around." Seeing that Lin Muyu could still joke around, it seemed like she was really fine. Qin Yin giggled at the side, her bashful beauty overflowing with charm, causing the group of officials and generals to be dumbfounded. Chapter 370. At night, the starlight shone on the unicorn forest. It was quiet. The candlelight in the central tent flickered. Qin Yin's beautiful face was calm. She held the golden scroll with the imperial edict in her hand. She looked at the officials in the tent and said, "Feng Jixing, Lin Muyu, and Xiang Yu are all seriously injured. We don't know what the demon race is doing. Let's discuss what we should do next." Su Muyin had just rushed over from Lanyan City. His face was still covered in dust. He cupped his fists and said, Your Highness, I think we should follow the Iha nation's strategy to resist the demon race. What strategy? Qin Yin was surprised. When Long Qianlin led the 200,000 soldiers of the Iha nation to guard the Qinling Mountains, Qin Yi ordered the rest of the generals to conscript the people and build a city wall along the 100-ridge city. They called it the Steel Wall. They will rely on this wall to resist the demon race. After all, we all know that the demon race is not good at attacking cities. Steel Wall. Steel Wall. Qin Yin frowned and repeated it twice. She blinked her eyes, looked at Su Muyin and asked, Grandfather, are you saying that we can also build steel walls along the banks of Daojiang River and connect the 7 great fortresses to defend against the invasion of the demon race? Yes. Su Muyin nodded. Your Highness is really smart. You understood it immediately. Tang Lan frowned and said, Your Highness, it is necessary to build the steel wall, but, after all, the Empire has experienced the chaos of the Iha nation and the Battle of Winterfrost City in the past 3 years. The national strength has long been reduced to half of the strength of the Radiant King. The construction of the 1,000-mile steel wall will consume a large part of our national strength and people's strength. Su Muyin replied, Your Highness, this old subject has already asked the officials of the Ministry of Revenue to calculate the cost. To build an 800-kilometer-long steel wall, it will cost around 500 million Jin coins. This is indeed a large number, but, as everyone knows, the Seven Seas Province and Cloud Province have not experienced any wars for decades, so they are very wealthy. The treasuries in the various places are also very abundant. Therefore, this old subject believes that the Seven Seas Province and Cloud Province will each spend 200 million Jin coins, and Lanyan City's national treasury will spend another 100 million Jin coins to recruit people to build the steel wall. Qin Yin nodded with a smile that refreshed one's heart. She raised her head and said, Duke Lan, the Empire is on the brink of life and death. There's no room for so many misgivings. I believe Duke Lan won't be stingy, right? Tang Lan cupped his fists and said, If your Highness decides to build the steel wall, this old subject will naturally not object. 200 million Jining coins will be shipped to the capital when your Highness needs it. And Qin Yin smiled and said, Then it's decided. I will immediately draft up an edict to call on the people of the Empire to actively participate in the construction of the steel wall. As for the funds and other details, I will leave them to Grandfather and Duke Lan to handle. The 2 dukes bowed in unison. This old subject obeys your Majesty. That's good. Qin Yin stood up, tied the belt of the Empress's cloak, and said, It's very windy at night. Both dukes, don't catch a cold. I'll go take a look at the injured brother you. Respectfully send off your Majesty. Zhang Wei, Wei Chou, and the rest personally led their men to follow Qin Yin and protect her. When they arrived outside of Lin Muyu's tent, Qin Yin stopped, turned around and said to everyone, All of you will stand guard outside. No one is allowed to enter without my orders. Wei Chou cupped his fists and said respectfully, Yes, your Majesty. Zhang Wei said, Your Majesty, the wind is strong at night, and the sounds in the tent can't be heard clearly from outside. Your Majesty need not worry. Qin Yin couldn't help but blush. Sir Zhang Wei, do you want to continue working as a corporal? Zhang Wei hurriedly said. This lowly general doesn't dare. This lowly general won't speak anymore. This lowly general will go on night patrol, and the safety here will be handed over to Sir Wei Chou. He. Qin Yin looked at him helplessly. Zhang Wei was such a person. He was extremely upright, but he was also an extremely loyal general. From the chaos in Lanyan City until now, everything had been proven. Qin Yin opened the tent door and walked in. She turned around and sealed the door to prevent the cold night wind from blowing in. Lin Muyu lay quietly on the bed. There were injuries all over his body. Qianfeng's wind attribute martial arts were extraordinary and too strong. It was already very fortunate that he was able to survive that storm. The people from the spiritual medicine department had already finished dressing his wounds. At this time, Lin Muyu was sleeping soundly, but his eyebrows were slightly furrowed. It was unknown what he saw in his dream. Qin Yin smiled sweetly and gently held his hand. It was as if as long as he was by her side, her heart would be at peace. Not long after, Qin Yin fell asleep on the side of the bed. When Lin Muyu woke up, she saw Qin Yin lying beside her. There was a faint smile on her beautiful face, but it was unknown what she was dreaming about. Her hair brushed past her cheeks, and her long eyelashes trembled lightly. She had once been the pearl of Qin Jin's palm, and was doted on by everyone. But now, she had to shoulder the heaviest burden in the world. When the empire was torn apart, Qin Yin ascended to the throne, and very quickly, a tribulation that would last tens of thousands of years. The demon race descended from the heavens. It was unknown whether the heavens doted on Qin Yin or mistreated her. Lin Muyu gently touched her face with some heartache. Instantly, Qin Yin slowly woke up. She opened her bright eyes and looked at Lin Muyu. She smiled and said, "You're awake?" "Yes." Lin Muyu smiled lightly. "Why did you fall asleep just like that? If you're sleepy, you can go back to sleep." "No, I want to stay here," Qin Yin said with a pout. "Okay, then I'll stay here." Lin Muyu stretched her arms and felt the wounds all over her body quickly healing. This should be the healing power of the profound spirit ruler. After all, even the best medicine wouldn't have such a shocking healing speed. "Xiao Yin, is there any news from the demon race?" "No, we don't know if Qianfeng is dead or not." "He won't die." Lin Muyu smiled slightly and looked at the big tent. "My 7 glorious stars transformation isn't enough to kill him, but it should be enough to make him lie in bed for 7 or 8 days. Before he fainted, he saw Qianfeng's miserable state. Countless stars bombarded Qianfeng's body. Even if he didn't die, he would still be half dead. If he had even 20% of the power of the 7 luminaries demon emperor, then the power of the 7 glorious stars transformation would be on a completely different level. If Qianfeng were to take a full set of the 7 glorious stars transformation, he would definitely die. Qin Yin pursed her red lips and said, "I don't know when this calamity will come to an end. Grandfather suggested building a steel wall along the Daojiang River to protect the empire's territory. I've already agreed. It will cost about 500 million Jining coins." "And that's fine." A trace of passion appeared in Lin Muyu's eyes. What are you thinking about?" Qin Yin asked with a smile. Lin Muyu was startled. She looked deeply at her and said, "I'm thinking about when we can no longer be so passive. We can kill our way back to the Winter Ridge province and the Clear Sky province, and reclaim the land that the demon race has occupied. It will still take a long time. And Lin Muyu nodded and said, "The combat power of the Armored Demon Legion is too strong. If we can't defeat them in positional warfare and field warfare, it will be almost impossible to reclaim the 2 eastern provinces. By the way, is there any news from the Iha nation? How is the battle between Long Qianlin and the demon race going?" "There's no result yet. The battle in the Qinling Mountains is in a stalemate. The demon race can't cross the Qinling Mountains, and Long Qianlin can't break through the demon camp. However, it is said that the Iha nation in the Lingnan has suffered serious losses. That so-called commander, Qin Yi, is issuing edicts to recruit new soldiers from all over the Lingnan region. It seems that Qin Yi is also very afraid of the demon race. That's natural. The demon race is ferocious, and the people of the Iha nation are still human." Lin Muyu looked at the beautiful empress and couldn't help but feel restless. She smiled and asked, "How many people know that you have come to my camp?" "Almost everyone knows that Wei Chou is guarding outside the tent. I have said before that no one can come in without my order." "I see," Lin Muyu smiled and said. "Then Xiao Yin, take off your boots and come to my side." "Yes." Qin Yin blushed. After taking off her boots, she took off the empress's robe and sat in front of Lin Muyu with only a thin dress. She blushed and asked, "And then?" Lin Muyu's heart was beating so fast that she couldn't help but talk nonsense. "Why does it feel like a young couple is secretly getting a room? My brain must be fried." Qin Yin giggled and asked, "That? What does getting a room mean?" "That's right. How do I put it?" Lin Muyu racked her brain for a way to explain this embarrassing thing. After a while she said, "It's a healthy and happy way for a couple to express their love by feeling each other's breathing and heartbeat. Feeling each other's joy according to the rhythm of their emotions." After saying that, he couldn't help but exclaim in admiration, "Motherf***ker. To describe something like sex in such a poetic way, I am indeed a genius. Qin, on the other hand, was confused, but she still blushed and said, Then let's give it a try? How do we feel the breathing and heartbeat? How do we make our emotions move? Do we use our martial soul? Don't, Lin Muyu hurriedly said. Don't use your martial soul. This military bed of mine was shipped from Sungnan province at a high price. If we use our martial soul, it will probably fall apart. Qin giggled and opened her arms to hug her beloved. She placed her face on Lin Muyu's chest and said, Promise Xiaoyin that you will never leave Xiaoyin, okay? Yes, I will obey your orders. Lin Muyu smiled and looked at her. Qin Yin's beautiful face became rosier and more enchanting. She couldn't suppress the impulse in her heart and slowly raised her face. Her red lips deeply imprinted on Lin Muyu's lips. Hugging Qin Yin's soft and hot body, Lin Muyu felt that she was the happiest person in the world at this moment. Dong 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 dong. The sound of war drums suddenly came from outside. Lin Muyu and Qin Yin, who were kissing passionately, were shocked. After separating unwillingly, Qin Yin blinked and asked, What's going on? I don't know either. Chapter 371. After Qin Yin tidied up her clothes and put on her boots, she asked, Wei Chou, what's going on outside? Wei Chou opened the tent door and said, Reporting to Your Highness Empress, it's the sound of drums coming from the east of the river. It seems like the demon race is preparing to launch a large-scale attack, but previously when the demon race attacked, they did not have the habit of beating drums. Lin Muyu frowned and said, Wei Chou, bring my armor over. Let's go out and take a look. Yes, Commander. Qin Yin hurriedly said, You've suffered such heavy injuries and you still want to go out to battle? No, I'm just going to take a look. Moreover, it's just a superficial wound. It's fine. In the end, under Lin Muyu's insistence, she put on her armor and mounted her horse. She brought Qin Yin, Wei Chou and the rest out of the city. When they came out of the city, they could see the flickering flames on the other side of the river. Countless armored demons were shouting something, but they could not understand it at all. Commander Yu. Suyu brought a group of heavy cavalry forward and said, Commander Yu's injuries are not light. Why did you come out? If the demon race really attack, we have no choice but to come out. Lin Muyu ordered. Wei Chou, prepare the black beech oil. As long as the demon race attacks, let them have a taste of barbecue. Yes, Commander. However, after waiting for a long time, the demon race still did not attack and the drumming gradually stopped. It seems like it's just to distract our attention. Lin Muyu frowned and said, Pass down the order. Send a message to the other 6 fortresses, and let them be on guard at all times. These demon race's actions are too abnormal. Yes, big brother. Qin Yin turned and left. Suyu looked at the other side of the river with her beautiful eyes wide open and said, I don't feel like they want to attack. Commander Yu, have you thought about it? The demon race has stationed an army of nearly 200,000 armored demons on the other side of the river. The bodies of the armored demons are so huge, so the food consumption will not be small. But this is Songnan province and not their supply area. So the demon race's food supply is far inferior to ours. Even if the demon race eat people, there are not that many people for them to eat. Yes. Lin Muyu nodded. Aunt Lian is right. Anyway, we just need to start building the steel wall. Qianfeng is cunning, he definitely won't give up. Yeah. Suyu looked at Qin Yin and smiled. Why is Xiao Yin here too? Qin Yin blushed and said, I was just accompanying Brother Yu in his tent, so we came out together. Is that so? Suer's beautiful eyes narrowed, as if she had realized something. She came closer to Qin Yin and said in a small voice, Actually, Auntie Ai can tell that Xiao Yin likes you, and you like Xiao Yin. Since it's like that, why don't you ask father to betroth them? If Xiao Yin marries you, wouldn't they be an enviable couple? Qin Yin stared blankly, and her face became even redder. What, you can't say it? Suer smiled. How about Auntie Ai help you say it? It's not that, Qin Yin frowned and said. I know Auntie Ai's good intentions, but now is not the time. The empire has just been established, the Iha kingdom has been divided, and the demon race has invaded our borders. If Xiaoyin gets married now, I'm afraid the commoners will think that the Empress is too infatuated with love. Also, grandfather and Duke Lan most likely won't agree. AI, that's right. Su'er sighed and said. Although Yu is the Empire's youngest and most outstanding commander, he still hasn't made enough contributions to become a marquis. Let's wait a little longer. Anyways, if Xiaoyin gets together with the person she likes, Auntie AI will definitely support you. Qinin smiled sweetly. Thank you, Auntie AI. At the side, Lin Muyu coughed and said, Can you guys not treat me as if I don't exist? Su'er smiled and asked, You don't tell me you don't want to marry Xiaoyin? I do want to, but, Lin Muyu said, It's just that it's not the right time yet. After I've pacified Lingnan and chased out the demon race, I'll use this entire empire as a betrothal gift to marry Xiaoyin. Only then will I be worthy of her status. Moreover, if possible, I want Xiaoyin to come back to my hometown with me and marry her there. At that time, we'll set up 1,000 tables and 100 Rolls-Royces to welcome her. Don't even mention how flashy that would be. Su'er stared. You really isn't an ordinary person. Although I don't know what you're talking about, it sounds pretty good. Ha, that's right. AI, the other side is beating the drum again. What the hell? Within the demon race's main camp, within the marshal's tent, a blood-red vortex slowly rose. Qianfeng pressed his palm against the ground, his body upside down. Traces of demonic energy circled around his arms as he used a strange posture to heal himself. At the same time, starlight flashed around his body, and traces of the 7 glorious stars' transformation's power dissipated into the air. After a while, he let out a breath and sat on the carpet. His face had regained some color, and he put on his cloak as he said, Come in. A group of high-ranking demon race generals walked into the tent, their faces filled with worry. One of the demon sect experts cupped his fists and asked, Marshal, are you feeling better? Qianfeng lightly nodded. That Lin Muyu's mysterious power is so powerful. I almost died to that attack of hers. I lost the right general and caused His Highness the Third Prince to die. And it's all because of my Qianfeng's lack of leadership. After returning to the godly capital, I'll naturally apologize to His Majesty the Demon Emperor. I'll listen to him even if he wants to kill me. Don't blame yourself, Marshal. The humans are just too cunning. Everything is going according to my plan, right? Yes. The demon sect expert respectfully said. Every incense stick's worth of time, I'll beat the drum, and the winged people will report that the human army is panicking and fighting. Qianfeng calmly said. If we keep fighting like this for 2 or 3 days, the human army will be exhausted. When that time comes, we'll be able to slowly retreat back to Winterfrost City. Are we really going back to Winterfrost City? Marshal, our army's battle power is still far superior to the humans, right? If we retreat without even fighting, won't we lose a great opportunity? A great opportunity. Qianfeng smiled coldly. We've already lost our spirit in the first battle, and we've even lost His Highness. Moreover, the humans seem to have prepared a lot of black beech oil. Moreover, the meat that the armored demons need to survive is already insufficient. After all, this is the humans' territory, and we can't transport our supplies here. If we stay here, when the armored demons are so hungry that they eat each other, I'm afraid that the human army will cross the river and fight us, and we'll be faced with a crushing defeat. The demon sect expert looked shocked. Humans are really that powerful? What do you think? Qianfeng pursed his dry lips and said, This battle made me understand that it's not that easy to conquer the humans. We can't be too hasty. Moreover, the human generals have famous generals like Feng Jixing, Lin Muyu, and Xiang Yu. It won't be easy for us to win. On the contrary, if we rest and recover in Winterfrost City, we'll have a better chance. What should we do after we return to Winterfrost City? Welcome the food from God's capital. Also, Qianfeng pondered for a while and said, Order all the armored demons not to eat any humans from now on unless I order them to. Send people to gather the human craftsmen in Winter Ridge Province and Sky Reaching Province. Order the farmers to plant crops and order the craftsmen to forge sharp weapons for me. Also, more importantly, Have them build siege weapons for us. I need both projectile vehicles and siege ladders. Once we have siege ladders that can reach the city walls, tens of thousands of armored demons will rush up to the city walls. Humph! The human cities will be breached in no time. The demon sect expert's face was full of respect. He cupped his fists and said, "Marshal is wise. This subordinate admires you. Retreat in 3 days. Also, send someone to God's capital to report the situation here to His Majesty the Demon King, and ask His Majesty the Demon King to send Star Sect experts to Winterfrost City." "Marshal, you want to assassinate the human commanders?" "Yes, Feng Jixing, Lin Muyu, and Xiang Yu. These human commanders are indeed very strong, but if they meet the Star Sect's 5-star demon sect rankers, they will still be no match for them. Let the 5-star demon sect rankers disguise themselves as humans and approach them, kill them, and bring their heads to me." "Yes. Marshal, if that's the case, can we send the Star Sect experts to kill Empress Qinin? If that's the case, the human empire will fall apart in an instant." "No." Qianfeng suddenly raised his head and looked at him with an unquestionable determination. "No one should try to kill Empress Qinin. Remember, Qinin can't die. I will marry her one day. This. Your subordinate obeys." "How's the situation with Marshal Lei Chong?" "He's attacking the Qinling Mountains, but there hasn't been any progress." That idiot." Qianfeng smiled faintly. "Let him attack slowly. It's best if he stays stuck there forever. I heard that there's a brave and intelligent general in Iha Nation called Long Qianlin?" "Yes, it's this Long Qianlin who is blocking Marshal Lei Chong." "Good." Qianfeng's eyes flashed with excitement. "If there's a chance, I want to meet this Long Qianlin." 3 days later, the demon race army slowly retreated. The demon race has retreated. The demon race has lost. We've won. Cheers reverberated throughout the human army. Everyone was excited. After suppressing themselves for a long time, seeing the retreat of the devil race, they felt that they had obtained a chance to survive. In the central tent, Tang Lan, Su Muyun, Feng Jixing, Lin Muyu, and the rest were all there. The demon race has retreated. Qin Yin's beautiful eyes swept across everyone and said, "On behalf of the people of the Empire, I thank everyone for your bloody battle, which gave the Empire a precious chance to breathe." Tang Lan cupped his fists and said, "Your Highness, this is a battlefield, not a place for your Highness to stay for long. This old subject respectfully invites your Highness to return to the imperial capital's Zetian Palace." Qin Yin nodded and said, "We can't slack on the matters at the defensive line. Every stronghold will have 30,000 soldiers. The rest will follow me back to the imperial capital. Big brother, you follow me back to the imperial capital as well. After drifting outside for so long, you must be tired." Lin Muyu cupped her fists and said, "Yes." Feng Jixing touched his nose. "Your Highness is so biased. I've also drifted outside for so long, eating and sleeping in the wilderness. I'm about to catch a cold, but I don't see any heartfelt words from your Highness." The group of generals laughed in unison. Qin Yin blushed and said, "When we return to Lanyan City, we will naturally reward you according to your merits. General Feng, you don't have to worry. Each army will leave behind a deputy commander to guard the stronghold. The other commanders will lead them back to Lanyan City and set off in 3 days. Also, the matter of the steel protective wall cannot be delayed. Strengthen the supervision, and the sooner it is completed, the better." "Yes, Your Highness." The officials cupped their fists one after another. Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing looked at each other and smiled. With the demon race retreating, they could finally enjoy a few days of peace. Chapter 372. Before leaving Seongnan Province, Lin Muyu did 3 things. The first was to sneak into Jiangdong at night, capture 5 armored demons who were left behind as scouts, lock them in iron cages, and transport them to Lanyan City. This was requested by Feng Jixing. The second was to submit the design of the soaring crossbow drawn by Qin Xiling to the Ministry of Works. The third was to hand over the command of the 4th Legion to Qin Yan. It was unknown when Lin Muyu would return to the 4th Legion. so she could only let Qin Yan take control of this army first. As for the temple army, which had expanded to nearly 20,000 soldiers, it had merged with the Longdan army camp. The temple army was included in the Longdan army camp and was collectively known as the Longdan army camp. The journey was long, and it was already autumn by the time the large contingent returned to Lanyan City. Both sides of the road were filled with fiery red maple leaves. Qin Yan couldn't help but feel a little excited when she returned to Lanyan City. There was a faint smile on her beautiful face. Pieces of fiery red maple leaves drifted down in the autumn wind and landed under the hooves of the Empress and the group of generals. The north gate of Lanyan City opened, and countless officials stationed in the capital came out to welcome them. They chanted, "Long live Her Majesty." Qin Yan nodded with a smile. Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing guarded both sides as they slowly entered the city. Behind them, the carriages of Duke Lan and Duke Yin followed. Under the leadership of Wei Chou, the 20,000 Longdan army camp entered the city at a later time. They were stationed in the camp behind the temple army and shouldered the heavy responsibility of protecting the capital together with the imperial guards. The officials followed the Empress into Zetian Palace, where a banquet was held at noon and a discussion was held in the afternoon. After the banquet, everyone entered the main hall of Zetian Palace. Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, Chu Yao, Zhang Wei, Wei Chou, and the others were all smiling. Lin Muyu talked with Chu Yao about many things that happened after they parted and found out that Chu Yao had been rushing between Divine Shadow City, Lengxing City, and the Spiritual Medicine Department headquarters in Songnan Province. She had suffered a lot in order to prepare the medicine. On the other hand, Tang Lan didn't look too good. The two brothers, Tang Lu and Tang Tian, had ashen faces as they waited for the Empress's verdict. The merits and demerits of the Battle of Daojiang would be decided at Lanyan City. No matter how unwilling they were, this moment had finally arrived. Your Highness, the officials shouted. Two maids carried Qin Yan's long dress that was trailing behind her. She had already changed into a brand new Empress's robe. Her long hair was coiled up elegantly, and the Empress's laurel crown was glowing faintly. Qin Yan insisted on wearing a sword. The purple ink sword was hanging at her waist. She placed her hand on the hilt of the sword and walked step by step to the Empress's throne. She didn't sit down and just stood there prettily. She said, "Everyone has worked hard to force the devil race to retreat in the Battle of Daojiang. On behalf of the emperors of the Qin family, Qin Yan thanks everyone for your support and support." Everyone knelt on one knee in unison. "Long live your Highness." Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing knelt side by side. Although as a modern person who had transmigrated, he only knelt to heaven, earth and his parents, he felt relieved at this moment. He knew that one day, he might marry Qin Yan. When he stepped into the realm of the God Emperor, he would obtain the power of reincarnation and bring Qin Yan back to the original world. At that time, he would have such a beautiful girlfriend, and he might even have to kneel on the keyboard. He needed to get used to it first. Qin Yan raised her arms majestically and said with a smile, "Everyone, please rise. There's no need to be so courteous." Everyone stood up. Qin Yan looked at the officials and said with a smile, "In the battle against the demons, Feng Jixing, Lin Muyu, and Xiang Yu, the three of you have made great contributions and must be rewarded. Therefore, I have decided to promote Feng Jixing to the rank of first general and reward him with 100,000 gold. I will promote Lin Muyu to the rank of second general of the state, to control the Longdan army camp and protect the imperial capital together with the imperial army. I will promote Xiang Yu to the rank of first general of the mighty martial sky, reward him with 200,000 gold, and confer him the title of Marquis of Pingnan." Everyone congratulated. "Congratulations to General Feng and Commander Yu. Congratulations to General Xiang Yu for being conferred the title of Marquis." Lin Muyu raised her head and looked at Qin Yan in surprise. She didn't expect that she would confer the title of Marquis to Xiang Yu. In fact, Xiang Yu's contribution in the Battle of Daojiang River was lower than hers. It seemed that Tang Lan was pressuring her. After all, Xiang Yu was Tang Lan's subordinate. Xiang Yu's rise also meant that Tang Lan's influence in the empire was also steadily increasing. Qin Yan continued, "The rest of the generals will also be rewarded. The demons are different from the Iha Empire. They are more ferocious and tyrannical. Therefore, Qin Yin has changed the military contribution system. In the battle against the demons, those who kill an armored demon will be promoted to sergeant. Those who kill 2 will be promoted to centurion. Those who kill 5 will be promoted to captain. And those who kill more than 10 will be promoted to captaincy. Below the king's steps, Wei Chou cupped his fists and smiled. Your Highness, Commander, you killed more than 100 armored demons with just 1 palm strike during the battle against Qianfeng. According to the new military contribution system, Commander Yu is qualified to be promoted to Imperial Marshal. Zhang Wei grinned. I also support Your Highness in conferring Commander Yu the title of Imperial Marshal. He will be in charge of all the troops in the empire. Qin Yin couldn't help but laugh. At this time Tang Lan smiled. Generals, you must be joking. The title of Imperial Marshal is too important. Not only must you be brave and invincible, you must also be resourceful. Currently, it seems that there is no one in the empire who can take this position. There is still a long way to go. Commander Yu still needs more training. Lin Muyu cupped her fists and smiled. You are right, Duke Lan. Lin Muyu knows that I am not talented, and I don't dare to take over the position of marshal. Tang Lan smiled. Commander Yu is too humble. Lin Muyu's eyes signaled Wei Chou and Zhang Wei to stop making noise. Otherwise, the imperial court would not have a sense of seriousness, and it would embarrass Qin Yin. Qin Yin's beautiful face was calm and composed. She smiled and said, however, the retreat of the demon race does not mean that the empire is safe. The empire is still in danger. The demon race is in the east, the Iha kingdom is in the south, and the nomadic barbarians are in the north. I hope that everyone will not slack off. The civil ministers will rule the country, the military will protect the country, train the army diligently and defend the land to the death. Once we have enough power, we will cross the Daojiang Qinling Mountains and reclaim every inch of the empire's lost land. The 4 seas will surrender, and the world will be united. The common people will no longer have to suffer the pain of war, and will enjoy eternal peace. Su Muyun raised his head to look at his granddaughter. His eyes were filled with admiration. After so many battles, Qin Yin was becoming more and more like a ruler. Not long after, the officials left one by one. Lin Muyu also returned to the Holy Temple. At night, Qin Yin held a banquet in the rear hall of Zetian Palace Hall. She only invited a few people: Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, Chu Yao, Wei Chou, and Zhang Wei. Zhang Wei and Wei Chou were very happy to receive the invitation. This represented a kind of recognition from the Empress. Everyone knew that those who attended the banquet tonight were all regarded as confidants by Qin Yin. The candlelight illuminated the rear hall. A few maids served on the left and right side. Soon, a table full of delicacies was prepared. Qin Yin held a jade cup and looked at everyone with a smile. She said, let's not talk about anything else. Shall we have a drink first? Feng Jixing smiled and said, all right, let's have a drink. After downing the cup in one gulp, Lin Muyu smiled and asked, Xiao Yin was supposed to hold a banquet for all the officials in the capital. Why did she only invite the few of us? Qin Yin's gaze was faint as she said, because almost all of you here lost your parents in this war. All of you are fatherless and motherless. Furthermore, Xiao Yin has long regarded all of you as her family. Without all of you, wouldn't this life be very lonely and miserable? She spoke very quietly. This caused Chu Yao, who was beside Lin Muyu, to involuntarily tear up. Originally, Chu Yao had a family and a caring brother, Chu Huayin. But now, she no longer had them. She only had everyone. And Lin Muyu was also alone in this world. Wei Chou and Zhang Wei were the same. It seemed that Qin Yin had pointed out the most painful part of everyone's heart. Zhang Wei drank a cup of wine and said, Zhang Wei is a boorish man. Regardless of whether this is Your Highness's way of controlling people, just based on Your Highness's words, Zhang Wei will never betray Your Highness even if I have to risk my life. Feng Jixing nodded. Feng Jixing agrees. Chu Yao smiled slightly. Xiao Yin and Xiaoxi as a family member. Xiaoxi. Qin Yin smiled gently and said, Xiaoxi is guarding the demon subduing pass in the west. She doesn't have much time to come to the capital. It's really been hard on her. Lin Muyu said. Once the demon subduing pass has settled down, everything will be fine. Moreover, after Tang Zhen and the saintess of the demon race, Ling Huyan, become familiar with each other, I believe that Xiaoxi will be able to stay in the capital for a long time. Yes, I also look forward to that day. Come, let's drink and eat. Lin Muyu picked up her chopsticks and added a piece of pheasant leg meat for Qin. Since we are a family, we should act like one. Eat more and talk less about national affairs. Haha, that's right. Feng Jixing sniffed the wine in the cup and said, The wine bestowed by your highness is indeed mellow and fragrant. Why don't you reward me with a few jars of wine and let this subordinate bring them back to the tent to enjoy? Qin smiled and said, Isn't it forbidden to drink in the army? Aha, I brought them for old Zhang. Zhang Wei's eyes widened. General Feng, you're so disloyal. Lin Muyu laughed heartily. However, at this moment, everyone suddenly felt a tyrannical power shrouding down from the sky. They could even hear a voice similar to Sanskrit. The voice was full of majesty and inviolability. Moreover, this power was very sacred. It quickly shrouded the earth like the rising sun. What's wrong? Qin stood up and asked in surprise. What's going on? Outside, an imperial guard rushed in and cupped his fists. Your Highness, it's an oracle. An oracle has arrived in Lanyan City. Ah, an oracle. Qin was stunned. There hasn't been an oracle in the empire for hundreds of years. How could it appear? What's an oracle? Lin Muyu was confused. Qin explained. An oracle is a kind of guidance from the gods of the realm of gods to humans. In other words, the gods of the realm of gods have something to say to humans. Let's not talk so much. Let's go out and take a look. Yes. The group of people ran out of the Zetian Palace and saw a golden light shining in the sky. It didn't look like night at all. A beam of golden light pierced through the clouds. Golden ancient characters lingered around the beam of light, and Sanskrit sounds could be heard. Chapter 373. The oracle's radiance swayed slowly in the air, as if it was searching for something. When Lin Muyu stepped out of the Zetian Palace, the oracle's radiance immediately moved towards her, as if it had found its master. Whoosh! Thousands of rays of light converged on Lin Muyu's body, producing a powerful blast that pushed Feng Jixing, Qin Chu Yao, and the others far away. It even destroyed a small part of the palace wall. Rays of golden light played on Lin Muyu's armor. He looked up at the sky, his eyes almost unable to look directly at the radiance. He murmured, Brother Demon Emperor, is that you? Sure enough, the voice of the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor came from the oracle. Hey, little brother newbie, I didn't expect you to still be alive. You've really shocked me. F***ck, are you disappointed that I'm not dead? Lin Muyu said angrily. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor continued. My divine power isn't enough to support the oracle's transmission for too long, so let's cut to the chase. Demon Emperor, how's your journey in the infinite stars? It's going very smoothly. I'm invincible. Within a month, I killed hundreds of ultimate gods and close to 30 god kings. I refined their godheads and took their palaces and disciples. Who in the heavenly realm doesn't know of my name, the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor? However, I met a god emperor recently. He was very powerful and a little tricky. After fighting for 3 days and 3 nights, I finally broke his head. I'm currently healing, so I found some time to use my divine power to guide me to you. Congratulations, Brother Demon Emperor. You must have something to tell me, right? The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor nodded heavily. When I killed a god king 7 days ago, I found a soul chart in his mansion. I found many people on the list of reincarnated souls in the Shattered Cauldron realm, but there was no one named Chu Chu. I suspect that Chu Chu isn't dead, so I ordered one of my god kings to search for Chu Chu's soul. He finally found it. Chu isn't dead. Lin Muyu was overjoyed. Then where is he? Don't rush. Listen to me slowly. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor seemed to take a sip of tea. He smacked his lips and continued. Chu Chu must have met Luo Lan during the chaos in Lanyan City. He escaped knowing that he was no match for her. He was chased by Luo Lan until he had no choice but to enter a tower that has the ability to pierce through space. I don't know what the tower is called. Chu Chu's last breath disappeared there. If you want to find him, you have to search through that spatial plane. Lin Muyu was stunned. Heaven-reaching tower? Maybe it's the Tower of Babel you mentioned. Well, little brother Ayu, you should cultivate well in the mortal realm. I'm still waiting for you to ascend to the heaven realm and fight side by side with me against the god kings and god emperors of the myriad world. Okay, I'll try my best. Lin Muyu's scalp went numb. The path of cultivation was long. Luo Lan, who was at the first level of the god realm, was enough to kill her instantly, let alone the stronger god kings and god emperors. The light beam suddenly retracted and turned into a stream of light that shot into the sky. The divine oracle also disappeared. In the distance, Qinin, Chu Yao, Feng Jixing and the others rushed over. Qinin asked anxiously, "Brother Yu, are you okay?" "I'm fine. Xiao Yin, let me tell you a piece of good news." Lin Muyu said excitedly. "What good news?" "Chu is not dead." "What? Chu is not dead?" Qinin was overjoyed. Where is he? What I need to do next is to find Chu." Lin Muyu smiled. "So I'll probably leave for a few days. Don't look for me. When I come back, I'll probably bring Chu back." Feng Jixing was stunned. "You, who gave you this divine oracle? A friend from the god realm? A friend from the god world?" Wei Qiu and Zhang Wei were stupefied. Zhang Wei's face was full of shock as he said, "Lord Commander Yu, you actually have a friend from the god world. My god, you're amazing." Lin Muyu looked at the confused Qin Yin and smiled. "Xiao Yin, I'm fine. Do you remember why I was resurrected? It was because of this friend from the god realm that I was able to survive. Also, the peerless martial arts I have were taught to me by him. Although he has ascended to the god realm and can't help me anymore, he can still send me a divine oracle." Qin Yin pursed her red lips. "It must be dangerous to find Chu, right? It's all right. I've been to that place before. Don't worry." Lin Muyu patted Qin Yin's shoulder. "Let's go. You guys go back and continue eating. Bring me 2 roasted chickens. I'll eat as I hurry." Okay. How could Lin Muyu have any appetite after learning that Chu Chu was not dead? She grabbed the roasted chicken leg and bit on it as she walked out of Zetian Palace. After whistling, Takshu rushed out of the stable and got on her horse. She went straight to the Tower of Babel. With the newly obtained State General's waste token, she left the imperial capital unimpeded. The Tower of Babel was still very eerie. There were whirlpools in the sky, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. There were imperial guards standing guard within a mile of the tower. When Lin Muyu arrived on her horse, an imperial guard centurion came forward and cupped his fists. "Oh, it's you, Commander Yu? Greetings, Commander Yu. May I know why you've come to the Tower of Babel so late at night?" "There's a situation in the Tower of Babel. Her Highness sent me in to investigate." "But..." The centurion was stunned. "Legend has it that there are ferocious beasts in the Tower of Babel. There are even man-eating gods and demons. Does Commander Yu really want to enter the Tower of Babel alone? How about this subordinate bring a group of men and horses to accompany the commander in?" "There's no need." Lin Muyu smiled. "It's safer for me to go in alone. Don't worry, General. I've entered the Tower of Babel before. I came back alive then, so I'm even more likely to come back alive now." "Okay, then be careful, Commander Yu." "Thank you. Someone move aside. Let her in. Go open the door for Commander Yu." "Yes." A group of Imperial guards accompanied Lin Muyu to the bottom of the tower and opened the rusty metal door. In the blink of an eye, she hadn't been here for 3 years. Lin Muyu handed Takshu over to the centurion and said, "Help me take care of my horse. I'll be back soon." "Yes, don't worry, Commander." Dang. Lin Muyu pulled out the dragon spirit sword and activated her battle energy. Instantly, she stepped into the Tower of Babel with a flash of sword light. As usual, there was no one on the first floor of the Tower of Babel. When she walked up the dusty stone steps to the second floor, she heard an extremely ferocious voice. Oh, it's been a long time since fresh flesh and blood entered the Tower of Babel. This time, which unlucky bastard did the Emperor send in? A phantom rushed over at high speed. Lin Muyu saw it clearly. She suddenly opened her arms and the golden gourd came out of her body and condensed into the wall of the gourd. With a bang, the person crashed into it. Lin Muyu raised her hand and punched through the air. The 7 luminaries' profound energy twisted and directly hit the person's arm with a chaos element of the common people. Ah! She was sent flying and fell to the ground with a miserable groan. Under the light of the dragon spirit sword. It was a woman wearing black soft armor. Her cultivation was around the first level of the heaven realm. Blood seeped out of her arms. Her arms were bleeding from the shock of the first luminaries. How pitiful. Lin Muyu lightly pushed the long sword towards her neck and asked indifferently, "Who are you?" I am Xuemei." There was a cold glint in her eyes. "You are also a subordinate of the Blood Lord?" Lin Muyu asked. "You? How do you know the Blood Lord?" Xuemei's face was full of suspicion. She used the sword light to look at Lin Muyu's military rank and said, So you are a commander-level imperial general. Kill me. After you kill me, the Blood Lord will have a reason to kill you to avenge me." "Why would I kill you for no reason?" Lin Muyu smiled. "Let's go. Take me to see the Blood Lord. He knows me." You know the Blood Lord?" "Yes." Xuemei stood up and blinked her bright eyes. "Could it be, you are Lin Muyu? Why do I not look like him?" "Yes." Xuemei nodded. A trace of respect flashed in her eyes. "The Blood Lord often mentions you. Let's go. I will take you to see him." "Many thanks." Under Xuemei's lead, Lin Muyu walked up the stairs. There were some fierce wolves on the second floor. Most of them were around 5,000 to 6,000 years old. It was unknown where the Blood Lord Qin Hong got these beasts. There was a group of stone apes around 7,000 years old on the third floor. There were 7 to 8,000-year-old flame-treading beasts on the fourth floor. However, these beasts did not harm Lin Muyu. They seemed to know Xuemei. When they reached the 7th floor, Xuemei lightly knocked on the door. "Blood Lord, someone is here." "Who?" "Lin Muyu." "Oh." The Blood Lord's voice trembled. "Why is this brat here? Let him in." "Yes." Xuemei pushed open the door and bowed politely. "Lord Commander, please come in." Lin Muyu stepped in. She saw the Blood Lord's back facing her. His palm was gently caressing the head of the 10,000-year battle bear. The battle bear was baring its fangs at her to show off. "Lin Muyu greets the Blood Lord." He bowed. The Blood Lord slowly turned around. His face that had been ravaged by time had a faint smile on it. "Lin Muyu, you escaped from Tongtian Tower. Why did you come back? Are you not afraid of death?" Behind the Blood Lord, a few cultivators looked at Lin Muyu with ill intentions. With the spirit pulse technique, she could sense that these people were all at the second sky of Heaven Realm. They were very strong. Once they attacked together, it would be hard to tell who would win. At this time, she could not lose in terms of momentum. Lin Muyu brushed off the dust on her sleeves and said, "I'm not here to cause trouble, Blood Lord. I'm here to find someone." "Oh. Who?" "Chu Chu, the teacher of the Empress." "You mean the white-haired Chu Chu?" "Yes, have you seen him before?" He killed 2 of my generals, and even brought a ferocious hierarch with him. Do you think I have not seen him before?" "Blood Lord, please don't be angry." Lin Muyu hurriedly bowed. "Blood Lord, Chu Chu is an important minister of the Empire. The Imperial Court needs him. I hope that the Blood Lord can do me a favor, and tell me where Chu Chu went." The Blood Lord sneered. "Why should I tell you? Men, skin this brat for me." "Eh." Lin Muyu laughed. Her golden gourd martial soul came out of her body. At the same time, she raised her sword. Golden god binding chains wrapped around the blade, giving off a faint majestic aura. "Wait." The Blood Lord looked at her in shock. "You. Why do you have god binding chains martial soul?" Chapter 374. It's a long story. Lin Muyu's expression turned cold, and she started to talk nonsense with a serious face. "This god binding chains was given to me by the founding emperor. Do you still remember the founding emperor of the Qin Empire? My ancestor, the mighty everlasting celestial emperor. Who wouldn't know him? The Blood Lord was a little excited as he spoke. After all, they were both of the bloodline of the Qin Empire. The Qin family owning the world was the proudest thing in his life. Lin Muyu nodded and said, "Not long after, there was an oracle from the heaven realm. It was the oracle given to me by the Emperor God Qin, who had ascended to the heaven realm. He gave me this god-binding chains and ordered me to protect the empire and this land as a member of the Qin family. I was to be loyal to the Qin family forever and never disobey. As for Chu Chu, as the teacher of Her Highness Qin Yin, I have to find Chu Chu." "What you said. Is it true? How can it be false? Don't you have the ability to read minds? Come, read." As Lin Muyu spoke, she had already pushed the spiritual pulse technique to its peak state. The Blood Lord couldn't read anything. The Blood Lord was a little emotional and said, "Since you are the protector of the empire appointed by the mighty everlasting celestial emperor, I Qin Hong naturally can't stop you. The everlasting celestial emperor asked you to protect Qin Yin. I believe Qin Yin is the emperor that he has approved of. Lin Muyu, follow me. I will bring you to find Chu Chu." "Thank you, Lord Sun, for your understanding." Lin Muyu secretly rejoiced. If she wasn't quick-witted, how could it have gone so smoothly? The Blood Lord pointed at the whirlpool in the air and said, 3 years ago, Chu Chu escaped from Divine Lord Luolan's pursuit from here. The plane that Chu Chu passed through is called the Chaotic World. As for the situation on the other side, I'm not too sure. You'll have to go there yourself to find out. The plane clock of the Chaotic World has not arrived yet. You'll have to wait for about 2 hours before you can pass through. If Chu Chu hasn't been burned to death by the sand of time, you should be able to find him." "Thank you, Blood Lord." Lin Muyu turned around to thank her and asked, "Blood Lord, the Divine Lord Luolan chased after Chu Chu and failed to kill him. Why didn't he vent his anger on you and let you continue to live here?" The Blood Lord smiled faintly. "He didn't kill me because I pledged my loyalty to him." "Pledge your loyalty?" "Yes, Divine Lord Luolan is a Divine Lord with an extremely inflated desire for power. He wants to conquer all the experts in the world, but he also has the pride of an expert. So he won't kill me if I pledge my loyalty to him." The Blood Lord laughed self-deprecatingly. "I'm just an old man who is imprisoned in the Tower of Babel alone and unable to leave. What can I do even if I pledge my loyalty to him? After all, to me, I've lost my dignity long ago." Lin Muyu said, "As long as you can help me find Chu Chu, you'll be a hero of the empire. When I return to Lanyan City, I'll definitely ask Her Highness to write an imperial edict to confer a title on you." "Really?" The Blood Lord's eyes were burning. "Of course it's true." While he was in a state of confusion, Lin Muyu used the spiritual pulse technique to read his mind. Sure enough, the Blood Lord didn't lie to her. Chu Chu passed through the plane and entered a place called the Chaotic World. This was true. After a long time, the lightning in the sky suddenly became intense. Dozens of blood-colored vortexes intertwined and reincarnated. The space-time plane had already changed. The Blood Lord pointed straight ahead and said, "The third vortex from the left is the Chaotic World. There's only 30 minutes left. Lin Muyu, hurry up, or else it'll be too late." "And then how can I transmigrate back?" 7 days later, at the same time, which is the third watch period, you have to return to the place you transmigrated from. Cut through the space plane, and you'll naturally be able to return to the Shattered Cauldron world. All right. Lin Muyu leaped and shot into the blood-colored vortex like a sharp arrow. Suddenly, a scorching force came over. It was the time quicksand. This time quicksand was more like the distorting force in the wormhole, making people very uncomfortable. She forcibly stirred up her battle energy and used her battle armor to protect her body from being burned by the quicksand. At the same time, there was a sudden howl in the depths of her eye. It was Acatosaurus. Acatosaurus had awakened. Rays of purple light quickly condensed on the surface of her body and turned into dragon scales. It was actually Acatosaurus protecting her master from being burned by the quicksand. Lin Muyu was secretly delighted. In this way, her armor wouldn't be burned and melted, and she wouldn't have to transmigrate to another world naked. That's great. After being baptized by the time quicksand for nearly 5 minutes, her eyes suddenly lit up. She successfully pierced through the plane. Lin Muyu fell into a pitch-black space with her sword. Bang! Her body landed heavily on the ground. Behind her, the blood-colored vortex slowly disappeared, and the plane rift was gone. He slowly stood up and rubbed his painful face. He looked around. This was a wilderness. Everything seemed to be a little distorted. It really looked like the Chaos Realm. Holding the hilt of his sword tightly, he suddenly raised his hand and his spiritual sense rushed out, creating a spatial rift not far away. Howl! A Catasaurus climbed out with a cheer. It wagged its tail, and used its head to rub against Lin Muyu's arm. Little apple. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. We didn't come here to play. We have to find Chu quickly. He should have lived here for 3 years. I don't know how he is. Can you sense Chu's aura? Little apple howled and raised its head. Its small ears flapped, and it let out another howl. Then, it swaggered forward to lead the way. Lin Muyu knew nothing about this place. However, it seemed that a Catasaurus knew this place. It kept howling, but Lin Muyu had no idea what it was howling for. She simply activated the spirit pulse technique, and followed the little dragon to explore the place. The surroundings were barren. There were broken stones everywhere. Not even a blade of grass could be seen. Walking here was like walking on the surface of the moon. Fortunately, the air here seemed to be suitable for survival. Or perhaps Lin Muyu's cultivation had reached a certain level. She was not as dependent on the air as ordinary people. Thinking about it, the green gourd was a plant-type martial spirit. It could provide oxygen, so Lin Muyu did not rely on the air that much. This was probably the reason why. After walking for an unknown period of time, they arrived at a slope. The little dragon let out an angry roar, and all the scarlet crystal scales on its body stood up. This was a roar filled with hostility. Something was coming. Lin Muyu hurriedly held the dragon spirit sword tightly. In the spirit pulse technique, a tyrannical force was quickly approaching. Bang! The ground in front of them was suddenly pierced through. In the midst of the splashing gravel, a huge demonic beast rushed out of the ground. It had no eyes, only a terrifying mouth. With a poochie sound, it bit a huge boulder into pieces. Its long body twisted like a dragon. There were 5 golden lines on its head. It was actually a 5,000-year-old spirit beast. Lin Muyu rushed over with her sword. The god-binding chain's martial spirit shone brightly. A bright star surged on the longsword. She slashed at the spirit beast that had crawled out of the ground. The first appearance of the star. Bang! The blade swept past, and the star crashed into the head of the giant snake. With just one strike, its head was smashed into pieces. A fiery red spirit stone rolled out of the blood. The Acatosaurus shook its head excitedly. It rushed forward and gobbled up the giant snake's meat. Lin Muyu frowned. She picked up the spirit stone, wiped it clean, and threw it into her cosmos sack. Then, she waited for the Acatosaurus to finish eating. She said, "What's next? Where are we going to find Chu?" This giant snake was really too big. The little dragon had only eaten less than 10% of its body. It rushed forward and used its head to push the giant snake's body into the ground. Lin Muyu was confused. She could only go and help. The two of them used their strength at the same time. The giant snake's body fell down the hole they had come from, and the sound of water splashing could be heard. A whoa! The little dragon crouched at the edge of the hole and winked at Lin Muyu. "You want me to crawl into this hole?" Lin Muyu was stunned. The little dragon wagged its tail. There was no other way. She could only give it a try. Lin Muyu jumped into the hole. Suddenly, the sound of wind was heard. The little dragon's cry came from above. This guy's huge body also fell down, and its butt suddenly smashed on its master's head. Lin Muyu wailed, "Damn it!" The giant snake's hole was very long. Lin Muyu fell along with the hole for nearly 3 minutes. Finally, with a whoosh, light appeared in front of her, but it didn't stop. His whole body actually appeared in midair, and then he abruptly fell down. Lin Muyu was stunned. It was at least 5,000 meters high. What should she do? She was definitely going to fall to her death. F***ck. He wailed and looked up at Acatosaurus. I'm going to die because of you. However, she only saw Acatosaurus's pair of big cute eyes. The next moment, Acatosaurus actually opened its claws. With a whoosh, the dragon scales on both sides of its body turned up. The tips of the scales turned up with a trace of misty luster. It twisted its body and actually looked like it was riding on the clouds. Lin Muyu's feet tightened. Acatosaurus was about to hug her. The little dragon raised its head and threw its master on its back. Lin Muyu was still in shock. Sitting on the dragon's back, she was covered in cold sweat. The little dragon could fly. This was something she didn't know. Bang! There was a loud bang from below. It was the sound of the giant snake's body falling to the ground. The giant snake's body was already hard enough, but when it hit the rocks at the foot of the mountain, it still fell into pieces. The little dragon quickly flew down and landed next to the giant snake's body. Awoo! After retracting its scales, it still squatted next to its master like a big dog. Lin Muyu looked around. Using the spirit pulse technique, she slowly opened up her spirit pulse technique. This place was a stretch of green mountains and clear water. The sky was covered with layers of fiery red rocks, and they were densely covered with holes. She could even faintly see some giant snakes digging holes in the sky. What kind of a pain in the ass plane was this? It gave her a feeling that she was about to go crazy. At this moment, suddenly, the sound of hooves came from afar. There was also a fluctuation of aura in the spirit pulse technique. A group of people with not very strong auras rushed over. Chapter 375. Under Lin Muyu's gaze, a dozen people wearing soft armor climbed up the giant snake's corpse with swords in their hands. They waved their battle axes and hacked at the giant snake's body. They cut the meat and bones into pieces and threw them down the corpse. One of the men carried a broadsword and came to the head of the giant snake. He frowned and said, "The spirit stones have been taken. Damn it! Who is it that stole the spirit stones before us? Don't let me Duan find out or I'll kill him." That. Lin Muyu and Acatosaurus stood under the tree in front of the giant snake's corpse and couldn't help but say, "That? Ah?" Duan was startled and hurriedly took a few steps back. "Who are you?" Lin Muyu cupped her fists and said, "I am Lin Muyu, someone who just came to the Chaos Realm." Oh. The group of people behind Duan surrounded them, each of them with a vigilant look on their faces. Duan held his broadsword and smiled. "Kid, which galaxy did you come from?" "I don't know, but my world is called the Shattered Cauldron Realm." Shattered Cauldron Realm? Duan frowned and said, "Another person from the Shattered Cauldron Realm." Ah. Lin Muyu's heart skipped a beat. "Sir, is there anyone else from the Shattered Cauldron Realm like me?" "Yes." A trace of lingering fear flashed across De Wen's face as he said, "That old fellow is really not simple. He nearly turned our chaotic world upside down. If it weren't for the 4 spiritual venerables from the Saint Emperor sect defeating him, I'm afraid the chaotic world would have changed its surname to Chu. That person is called Chu Chu, right? You know him?" "Oh no. I don't know him. I've only heard of him." Lin Muyu knew something was wrong and smiled. "Sir Duan, what's the use of digging up this snake's corpse?" "Humph, this thing isn't called a giant snake, it's called a chaos worm. Why are you asking me these questions?" "Who are you?" Duan asked maliciously. "I told you, I came from another galaxy, but I think this should be what you need, right?" Lin Muyu took out the chaos worm's spirit stone from her Qiankuan bag. It was a 5,000 years old fire spirit stone. She weighed it in her hand and smiled. "Lord Duan, I just arrived here and accidentally killed this chaos worm. If you need spirit stones, I can give them to you. Just treat it as making a friend. I want to transmigrate back to my original world, so I will need a few more days. Please take care of me in these few days. How about this deal?" Devon narrowed his eyes as he looked at the fire spirit stone and smiled. "Young hero, do you know how valuable this spirit stone is?" "I don't know." "Haha, it's worth 100 years of living expenses for a family of 10. "It's all right, I'll give it to you." Lin Muyu raised her hand and threw the spirit stone out. Duan stretched out his hand and grabbed it. His face was full of joy as he said, "Young swordsman Lin Muyu is truly generous. Money is nothing but dirt. Righteousness reaches the clouds. Duan admires you. No, this is just a deal. It has nothing to do with righteousness." Lin Muyu jumped down from the rock with a Catasaurus behind her. She said, "I might have to trouble Lord Duan for a few days." "Oh right, who are you people?" "Us. Haha." Duan laughed and said, "In the chaotic realm we are called demon hunters. Here. These are my brothers. Come greet young hero Lin." The group of people cupped their fists and said, "Greetings young hero Lin." Lin Muyu respectfully returned the greeting and said, "Greetings everyone." Duan looked at the military insignia on Lin Muyu's collar and could not help but ask, "Young hero Lin, in your original world, you should be a noble person, right? It seems like you are a general with a high position?" Lin Muyu smiled and said, "Thank you for your kindness, your highness. I am the commander of a 20,000-strong army in the Shattered Cauldron realm." "Oh right, you are called demon hunters. What do you hunt?" "Look up." Duan and Lin Muyu looked up at the sky together and said, "The chaotic realm is a broken star. Thanks to the geniuses of this level, we are able to survive in the sky. However, these damned chaos worms always drill through the sky, causing the gas we need to live to become thinner day by day. Therefore, the people of the first level of the chaotic realm began to hunt these chaos worms. Fortunately, their skin can be made into armor, their meat can be eaten, their bones can be used as medicine, and their spirit stones can be sold to demon sovereigns and spirit sovereigns for large amounts of gold coins. We are the people who specialize in hunting chaos worms." Lin Muyu looked up at the sky and said, "Chaos worms live so high up in the sky. Logically speaking, you have no chance of hunting them. Therefore, you can only rely on luck and wait for the chaos worm to fall down." "Oh right, Lord Duan, you just said that this is the first level. Does the chaotic realm have more levels?" "Yes," Duan said. "Actually, strictly speaking, this place is divided into the second level of the chaotic realm. The first level is the void, which is the sky above, where the chaos worms live. The second level is here, where the poor demon hunters, mercenaries, and a small number of cultivators live. The third level is the core of the chaotic realm, where the divine king, spirit sovereigns, and demon sovereigns live." "Oh right, that choo-choo you mentioned, what's going on?" Duan waved his blade and cut off the meat of the chaos worm as he said with a smile, 3 years ago, this choo-choo fell into the chaotic realm. Originally, nothing happened to him. After all, many people have entered the chaotic realm. This is an open plain and we don't kill outsiders. However, this choo-choo provoked the divine king, so he was imprisoned in the chaotic dragon abyss. No one knows if he's dead or alive. Chaotic dragon abyss. Lin Muyu frowned and asked, "Then how did choo-choo provoke the divine king?" Duan said, "The divine king is in the prime of his life." "Heh, you're also a young man, so you should know this feeling. When he was in the prime of his life, the divine king set a rule. All young women in the chaotic realm must be pampered by the divine king on the first night before they get married. It just so happened that the daughter of the family that choo-choo was staying with was about to get married, but she refused the divine king's pampering, so she was killed by a demon sovereign. Unfortunately, choo-choo couldn't take it and killed the demon sovereign with a palm strike, completely angering the divine king, which led to his death. First rule." Lin Muyu curled her lips and said with a smile, "The divine king is a dragon and fierce tiger. Can he get the chance to pamper all the women in the chaotic realm?" "Why not?" Duan said. "Young hero, don't think that the chaotic realm is very big. Let me tell you, there are less than 20,000 people living in the chaotic realm. After saying so much, young hero, why did you come to the chaotic realm?" "Oh, I went the wrong way when I was passing through the plains and came here by mistake. I originally wanted to go back to Earth." "Earth?" Duan frowned. "I've never heard of it. Young hero, you're indeed a person who doesn't belong to this world. Since you have nothing to do here, why don't you help us, the demon hunter brothers, kill this chaos worm?" And okay. Very soon, Lin Muyu took on the role of a demon hunter, because he still needed Devon to point out the way to the third layer of the chaotic world. After all, he had just arrived here, so he could not act rashly. Otherwise, not only would he not be able to save Chu-Chu, he would also lose his life. Even Chu-Chu, who was a first heaven of the sacred region, could not defeat those spiritual venerables, so he believed that he would not be able to defeat them either. When the sky turned dark, a group of demon hunters transported the Chaos Worm's body parts back to the town. It was actually just a small market, and the Chaos Worm's meat was really easy to sell. 1 silver coin for a caddy of meat. And it was sold out in minutes by the poor people with yellow faces. Duan smiled hurriedly and said, "Young hero Lin, I want to go down to the lower realm to sell this fire spirit stone. Since you also want to go down there to see the situation, why don't you come with me?" "Okay." Lin Muyu looked around and said, "Just the two of us?" "Yes." Duan smiled faintly. "The more people there are, the more mouths there are. This spirit stone is a good thing. The fewer people who know about it, the better. And let's go." The two of them didn't ride a horse but walked out of the town. After walking in the same direction for close to an hour, Lin Muyu frowned. In the spiritual pulse technique, he felt an aura following them from a distance. He lowered his voice and said, "Duan, we might be being followed." "Ah." Duan was stunned. "Don't stop, keep walking. How long until we reach the entrance to the lower realm?" "We're almost there. Young hero, don't be scared later." "Ha, I won't." But a few minutes later, Lin Muyu was still stunned. In front of them was a cliff. Looking ahead, there was no abyss or canyon, only an endless sea of stars. This continent was like a broken tile floating in the universe. Looking ahead, they could even see the scene of a planet dying. The wormhole swallowing the star was a very shocking scene. "This is the stowaway path." Duan pointed down, and there was an almost unreal stone staircase leading to the lower realm, like a broken staircase hanging on a cliff. As if seeing Lin Muyu's surprise, Duan smiled awkwardly and said, "Young hero, please don't be surprised. We demon hunters and mercenaries are all lowly people in the lower realm. We don't have the right to live in the lower realm. So if we want to make a living by selling spirit stones, we can only stow away from here." "It's fine, let's go." Lin Muyu patted his shoulder and smiled. "Hurry, we're already being watched. He must have seen you when you took out the spirit stones." "Then what do we do?" "It's fine, we just need to find a place where there's no one and get rid of him." "This." Duan nervously put away the spirit stones and carefully climbed up the stone staircase step by step. Lin Muyu followed closely behind, not even daring to look to the right. There was an endless universe there, and there was a mysterious suction force that kept them in a downward direction. If they lost their footing and fell, they would probably float all the way into the universe, right? Chapter 376. The winding path took almost an hour to complete, but when Lin Muyu reached the flat ground, she could not help but sigh in relief. She was really scared to death. In the distance, starlight converged to form a city. Looking closely, it was not starlight but a bunch of lanterns with starlight. It was very beautiful. "That is the Imperial City." Duan smiled and said, "It is the place where the Saint Emperor and all the spiritual venerables and demon venerables live." "Where is the chaotic dragon abyss?" "The dragon abyss. The dragon abyss is at the core of the Imperial City. To put it nicely, it is actually the place where the Saint Emperor executes criminals. It is said that there is a terrifying dragon in the depths of the dragon abyss. After the criminals are thrown into the dragon abyss, they will most likely become the dragon's meal." "Where is the trading area?" "If we sneak into the Imperial City, we can trade in the chaotic bazaar." "Okay, let's go." "Okay." The two of them had not gone far when the aura behind them got closer and closer. Lin Muyu tried her best to reduce her aura to the minimum. She had fought before coming to this world, so she wanted to take the opportunity to see how strong the cultivators in this world were. Sure enough, the person following them was eager to hunt and quickly chased after them. Clang! With the sound of a blade being drawn, he shouted, "You two, stop right there." Daewon was startled and turned around with Lin Muyu. Under the starlight, they saw a tall and sturdy man standing there. He was wearing armor and had a bronze badge on his chest. Doan was scared out of his wits and said, "Oh no! It is a Martial Venerable. A Martial Venerable found us." The Martial Venerable looked at Doan's panicked expression and was very satisfied. He sneered, "You two lowly commoners actually entered the lower realm without the Saint Emperor's decree. You are seeking death. Immediately hand over the spirit stone and scram back to the upper realm. I will spare your lives." "You are here for the spirit stone, right?" Lin Muyu asked with a smile. "So what if I am?" Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. She walked forward with her bare fists and slightly shook her arms. Doqi enshrouded her body and swirled around her, causing her cloak to flutter. She smiled and said, "Come, come, come. If you can beat me, I'll return the spirit stones to you." Behind him, Devon was stunned. "Young hero, you are a cultivator? Oh my god." The honored martial artist narrowed his eyes. He was in a difficult situation and couldn't care less. He held his saber horizontally and poured his doqi into it. He said in a low voice, "You are courting death. Don't blame me." Buzz. The blade sliced through the air, simple and fast. Lin Muyu could even imagine that this blade must have killed a lot of people who had no cultivation. Lin Muyu suddenly stretched out her left arm and condensed the true dragon's power into a shield. With a clang, she forcefully blocked the opponent's blade. Lin Muyu flew forward and a blood-red vortex appeared on her right fist. She didn't need to use the star art to defeat this person. Just the first brilliance was enough. The honored martial artist seemed to realize that danger was approaching. His expression became more and more fierce. He shouted in a low voice, "Come, I am not afraid of you." He threw away his saber and crossed his arms in front of his chest to block Lin Muyu's punch. But at the moment she punched out, rays of golden god-binding chains martial soul energy surged around her fist, directly increasing the power of the first luminous. In an instant, the martial venerable's eyes were filled with despair. He could feel the changes in Lin Muyu's power, and with the power of the god-binding chains, this punch was not something he could withstand. Bang! Chaos of the first brilliance. Amidst the sound of bones breaking, the honored martial artist fell to the ground with a howl. He had actually fainted from a single punch. Lin Muyu frowned. With a light shake of her wrist, she dispersed the battle energy and the god-binding chain's power on her fist. She turned around and smiled. "Duan, let's go trade?" Duan stood there in shock. "Young hero, you actually defeated a honored martial artist with one punch. What's wrong?" Honored martial artists are cultivators. They are like gods in the upper realm. You actually defeated them with one punch. Let's go. Don't think too much. Yes. When the two of them arrived at the Imperial City, a group of guards blocked their way. One of them rubbed his fingers together. His eyes were filled with greed. He smiled. "Lowly people from the upper realm. You can only enter after paying the toll." Doan hurriedly took out a heavy bag of money from his bosom and said, "Sir, please accept it." After the guard took the money, he chuckled. "Go in. Have fun." "Thank you, sir." Duan respectfully led Lin Muyu into the Imperial City. Meanwhile, Lin Muyu observed her surroundings. The chaotic realm was indeed sparsely populated. The scale of the buildings in the city could not be compared to Lanyan City. This imperial city was not even as magnificent as the Five Valleys city governor's mansion. After entering the Chaos Bazaar, Duan found a familiar man in black. He handed over his spirit stones and received a gold note. His face was full of joy. "Young hero, the spirit stones have been exchanged for so much money. It should be enough for you to eat and drink for a few days in the chaotic realm. Do you want to follow me back to the upper realm, or continue to stay in the imperial city?" "Duan, I don't need this money. You can take it," Lin Muyu said. "But you have to tell me how to get to the dragon abyss of chaos." Duan squinted his eyes and smiled. "Young hero, you really came for that choo-choo. You can't fool me." Lin Muyu touched her nose and smiled. "All right, I won't hide it from you. Choo-choo is my teacher. I came to the chaotic realm to look for him." "I see." Duan's eyes were full of respect. "Young hero, you are a loyal person. Duan admires you. However, It is not easy to enter the Dragon Abyss. It is an important place in the Imperial Palace. Only the spiritual venerables and demon venerables who serve His Majesty can enter. Even martial venerables are not qualified to enter the Dragon Abyss. There is only one way to enter. What is it? The Saint Emperor is obsessed with martial arts, so he recruited warriors from the chaotic realm. There are only 31 of them, but each of them is an extraordinary expert. Among them, the 4 spiritual venerables are the strongest, followed by the 27 demon venerables. If you want to enter the Dragon Abyss, you have to pass the challenge and become one of the warriors of the chaotic realm. However, it is too dangerous. The strength of the demon venerables and spiritual venerables is far beyond that of a martial venerable. I understand. Lin Muyu smiled. How much does it cost to stay here for a night? 1 gold coin is enough. Give me a few gold coins and you can go back. It is very dangerous here. Then, young hero, please take care. Okay. After Duan left, Lin Muyu stayed in an inn beside the Imperial Palace. After eating and drinking to her heart's content, she continued to cultivate. After a good night's sleep, the sky was already bright. The sunlight in the chaotic realm was warm. Moreover, there were 3 suns shining chaotically. As a result, when Lin Muyu stood in the courtyard of the inn, she felt as if she was being illuminated 360 degrees. After a hurried breakfast, she went straight to the Imperial Palace. In the square of the Imperial Palace, there was a huge recruitment flag fluttering in the wind. Beside it was a huge martial arts arena. There was already a group of people crowding around it. Under the flag, there were a few people dressed in guards' armor who were yawning lazily. Lin Muyu walked forward and said respectfully, "Hello, I want to join the Imperial Guard camp." "You?" One of the guards raised his head and smiled. "Do you know the rules of joining the Imperial Guard camp?" "I don't know." "What are the rules?" "You have to defeat a demon lord. In addition, you have to sign a life or death contract because there will be no compensation if you die in this martial arts competition." "Got it." A trace of astonishment flashed across the guard's face. The handsome young man in front of him was dressed in a completely different style from the local Imperial Palace. Moreover, he looked calm and composed. This kind of attitude was not faked. Without sufficient confidence, he would not be so calm. He asked, "Young hero, what is your name?" "Linji." Lin Muyu still used her real name. "Okay, just sign here," Wang Yao said. Lin Muyu picked up the brush and signed, saying, "Is it okay now? Please don't ask me why this chaos realm also uses Chinese characters. It's not good to waste ink. And I'll go invite the demon lord." Not long after, a warrior carrying a spear walked out. He looked to be around 40 years old. His face was filled with arrogance. He looked at Lin Muyu from afar and said indifferently, "You are the Linji who wants to challenge me?" "Yes." Lin Muyu stepped onto the martial arts arena. She raised her hand and slowly pulled out the dragon spirit sword. Below the martial arts arena, a group of Chaos Realm citizens immediately cheered. Many of them were waiting here to watch a good show. They wanted to see the scene of the challenger's blood splattering all over the place. The spear-wielding demon lord smiled. The silver insignia on his chest glowed faintly. He smiled and said, "Lin Ji, do you know how many challengers I will kill this month?" "I don't know." "The 7th. Also, my name is Luokai. Don't forget my name in your next life." Luokai's face was filled with arrogance. He didn't put Lin Muyu, this pretty boy, in his eyes at all. Lin Muyu also smiled. Her aura was awe-inspiring. "Don't worry. Remember my name in your next life." "Arrogant." Luokai suddenly shouted in a low voice. Suddenly, the battle chi around his body spun rapidly, quickly condensing into battle armor that enveloped his body. The light of battle spirit revolved around his spear. He seemed to be an expert who had just stepped into the 3rd heavenly layer of the heavenly realm. With another shout, the spear danced wildly in the air and stabbed forward. The strength of the spear was astonishing. He really wasn't simple. Lin Muyu only took an instant to gather her chi and circulate it. The 5 battle spirit lights on the dragon spirit sword revolved rapidly. With a clang, the hilt of the sword locked onto the handle of the spear. Taking advantage of the situation, Luo Kai rushed over. He raised his battle boots and kicked out filled with battle chi. Bang! Luo Kai raised his leg at the same time. The two of them suddenly kicked each other. Lin Muyu stood in place without moving. The cyclone around her surged, while Luo Kai continuously retreated 7 to 8 steps. The spear in his hand was directly grabbed by Lin Muyu. You! In an instant, this demon lord's face was filled with shame and anger. Chapter 377. I can still kill you with my fists. Luo Kai flew into a rage out of humiliation. He gathered almost all of his battle energy in his fists, stomped on the ground, and rushed toward Lin Muyu like a bolt of lightning. However, just as he reached Lin Muyu, a dang sound rang out. His old face directly hit a martial soul that was as hard as a steel plate. It was the wall of a gourd. Ah! Luo Kai retreated several steps. 2 of his front teeth had already been knocked out by the gourd wall. Looking up, he saw Lin Muyu rushing toward him with a longsword slashing through the air. My battle armor is invincible. Come on! Luo Kai continued to shout. He knew that he had lost, but he was unwilling to accept the fate of defeat. After all, as one of the 27 demon lords, he had always been high and mighty. Pooh! Blood splattered. The dragon spirit sword had been tempered with white diamond crystals, and with Lin Muyu's abundant strength, it was naturally easy for her to cut through the battle armor. In the next moment, Luo Kai's entire right arm was chopped off, and blood splattered on the spot. Below the stage, countless onlookers revealed astonished gazes. No one thought that this young and handsome man would be so strong that he could defeat the incomparably abnormal demon lord. Luo Kai knelt on the ground and slowly lay down. His face was pressed against the ground, and blood spurted out of his mouth. He was still cursing. Just you wait, the spirit lord will avenge me. Scram! Lin Muyu raised her leg, and a vigorous battle energy kicked Luo Kai away. He hit the wall heavily, and he fell down with a howl. Lin Muyu's attack was very ruthless, but it wasn't enough. After all, she didn't kill Luo Kai. Now, can I become one of the guard's battalion's warriors? Lin Muyu asked. The guard in charge of supervising the battle was taken aback. He cupped his fists and said, Your lordship is mighty and invincible, truly admirable. You've already defeated Lord Luo Kai. Logically speaking, you should already be a demon venerable, but we still need Lord Luo Bing, the spiritual venerable in charge of the selection, to verify the life or death agreement and the outcome of the battle. Please wait a moment, your lordship. This subordinate will go and invite Lord Luo Bing. At this moment, an extremely dignified voice came from afar. There's no need. Lin Muyu couldn't help but frown. This voice was very old. Moreover, Luo Bing and Luo Kai were obviously in cahoots. Maybe this spiritual reverend was Luo Kai's father. She had beaten Luo Kai to such a state, it would be strange if Luo Bing was willing to let it go. However, this was also good. Since she wanted to save Chu Chu, she had to face these spiritual reverends head-on. At the palace gate, an old man with a white beard walked over. His face was rosy, but there was no expression on his face. He looked at Luo Kai in the corner and frowned. Is this the one who defeated Luo Kai? He even cut off one of his arms and made him half a cripple? The guard respectfully said. That's right, spiritual Reverend Luo Bing. This lordship is called Lin Ji. He's the one who just came to challenge. Humph. Luo Bing placed his hands behind his back and slowly walked onto the stage. He said, The Saint Emperor's selection of talents isn't just for killing. Lin Ji, your evil aura is too heavy. You're not suitable to serve by the Saint Emperor's side. How about this? This old man will help you get rid of the evil aura. What do you think? Lin Muyu couldn't help but feel that it was funny. What's the point of saying so much? Do it. Too frivolous. Luo Bing shouted angrily. His entire body surged with battle energy. 5 pure white battle spirits circled around his body, causing Lin Muyu to be startled. This was a peak 3rd level Heaven Realm expert, the same level as her. However, Lin Muyu wasn't afraid at all. This was because she realized that the cultivators in the chaotic realm didn't seem to cultivate martial spirits. Or perhaps they didn't even have martial spirits. Without the support of martial spirits, the intensity of their strength would be greatly reduced. Within the whirlwind, Luo Bing's palm was enshrouded in raging flames. This was an expert who cultivated the law of fire. Buzz. The golden gourd wall appeared in the sky and directly blocked Luo Bing's flame attack. Lin Muyu spun around and attacked with her sword 3 times in a row. However, Luo Bing waved his fire palm and blocked all of them. His palm was filled with raging flames and was actually able to block the dragon spirit sword's attack. Good. Lin Muyu raised her hand and sheathed her sword. She raised her fist and gathered the power of the stars. She brazenly punched out. She used 70% of her strength and directly used initial starlight. Bang! The air swirled around. The stellar art was extremely domineering. Moreover, this punch was supported by the power of the god-binding chains. This punch forced Luo Bing to take a few steps back. His face was filled with shock. Without waiting for him to take a breath, Lin Muyu threw out 7 to 8 punches in a row. The impact forced Luo Bing to take a few steps back. He was already at the edge of the battle stage. His face was ashen as he roared. His body was covered in raging flames. Both of his fists smashed down from the sky. Was he going to risk his life? Little bastard, I will kill you. Luo Bing spat out blood. His face was filled with murderous intent. Lin Muyu furrowed her brows and said indifferently, then die. Stepping on the ground, Lin Muyu slightly lowered her center of gravity. Her body was surrounded by a bright golden light. The golden gourd and the god-binding chains light intertwined and turned into rays of azure light that gathered in her palm. Suddenly, rays of stars gathered and turned into dazzling stardust. Suddenly, she threw out the third style of the stellar art. 5 mountains descend from the sky. Bang! The cyclone expanded and instantly broke the fire curtain that Luo Bing had created. The mysterious destructive power of the 5 mountains descend from the sky was suddenly released. Suddenly Luo Bing cried out in pain. The spiritual venerable let out a miserable howl before his body exploded. His blood turned into wisps of blood curtains. Lin Muyu had not controlled her strength in her attack, and it had directly disintegrated the spiritual venerable's corpse. Wah! Even though Lin Muyu had experienced the chaos in Lanyan City, she could not help but feel a little nauseous looking at the scene in front of her. Moreover, Luo Bing's strength was not weak either. A tyrannical fire force backfired on him, rendering him unable to muster any strength for a long time. The audience was stunned. The guard who was in charge of supervising the fight was even more shocked. Linji, you killed the spiritual master Luo Bing. You? Did I commit a serious crime? Lin Muyu was shocked. No. The guard smiled and said, His Majesty the Saint Emperor once said that anyone who can directly challenge and kill a spiritual master will be promoted to a spiritual master. Lin Ji, you are now a spiritual master under His Majesty the Saint Emperor. This subordinate greets the spiritual master Lin Ji. You're welcome. Lin Muyu looked at the pool of blood on the ground and frowned. She was a little nervous. The guard said, Master Lin Ji, don't say anything. Follow me to see His Majesty the Saint Emperor. This is His Majesty's decree. Anyone who can challenge and kill a spiritual master will have the right to see the Saint Emperor. Okay, thank you. Lin Muyu nodded. He also wanted to see what kind of person His Majesty the Saint Emperor, who imprisoned Chu Chu, was. After entering the palace was not big, but the interior was very exquisite. After walking along the pavilions and waterside pavilions for close to 10 minutes, there was a magnificent palace in front of them. Along the way, many people wearing silver and gold badges were looking at them with hostility. Lin Muyu also knew that there were only 4 spiritual venerables in the chaotic world. And she had killed one of them after coming here, which really shocked them. However, he was also very confused. Chu Chu was a Saint Realm cultivator, and the Fire Cauldron martial spirit was very strong. 3 years ago, Chu Chu shouldn't be much weaker than him now. How could he be imprisoned like this? In the main hall, a group of palace maids were dancing gracefully and elegantly. On the throne, a person around 30 years old was sitting upright and still. His face was red. The Saint Emperor had occupied the chaotic realm for a long time, but he was still so young. This could only mean that he entered the Saint Realm when he was 30 years old. This Saint Emperor wasn't just an ordinary person. Lin Muyu seemed to have found the reason why Chu Chu was imprisoned. You are the Lin Ji who killed spiritual master Luo Bing? The Saint Emperor raised his brows and asked. Yes, subordinate Lin Ji greets his majesty. Lin Muyu bowed respectfully. The Saint Emperor laughed heartily. Lin Ji, you actually killed that old monster, Luo Bing. It really wasn't easy. Servants, take a seat for spiritual master Lin Ji and serve him wine and meat. Yes. A maid came forward and held Lin Muyu's hand, pulling her to sit at a nearby table. Then the Saint Emperor smiled. Lin Ji, since you've come to the chaotic realm, enjoy yourself here in Xiaoyao. You won't be able to go anywhere else. Lin Muyu nodded and smiled. Yes, I'll be happy here. I won't go anywhere else. Ha, good. Although the Saint Emperor's eyes were shining brightly, they were slightly swollen. Lin Muyu pinched her fingers and calculated that the Saint Emperor's kidneys were weak. At this time, a few girls sitting in the same row as the Saint Emperor giggled. Wow, it's rare to see someone as handsome as spiritual master Lin Ji in the chaotic realm. Yes, so handsome, I can't help but be tempted. Big sister, could it be that you also like him? Yes, the Saint Emperor smiled and said. Spiritual master Lin Ji, look, I have a total of 4 daughters, and they're all princesses of the chaotic realm. If you like any one of them, just say the word, and I'll arrange a marriage for you. Lin Muyu was stunned. She saw the youngest of the 4 princesses stand up. She was about 18 years old, and she walked over with a cup of wine with a smile, saying, Father, I really like this spiritual master. Sisters, don't fight with me for him, he's mine. Lin Muyu glanced at her. This 4th princess wasn't bad looking. Although she wasn't as stunning as Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi, she was still pretty. The Saint Emperor said, Spiritual Master Lin Ji, are you satisfied with the 4th princess? If you are, she's yours. Lin Muyu was stunned, but she couldn't refuse. She could only cup her fists and say, Thank you, Your Majesty. Good. The Saint Emperor laughed heartily. The people of the chaotic realm live a simple life, and they don't have so many formalities. After you finish drinking, bring the 4th princess back to your room, and she'll naturally serve you. From now on, we'll be a family. Lin Muyu's heart raced. The people of the chaotic realm were too unrestrained, weren't they? The 4th princess in front of her had a lustful look on her face. No matter how she looked at it, she didn't look like a girl from a good family. She sat next to her and kept rubbing her arms with her breasts. She was like a madam who didn't rely on oars, but on the waves. It's over, I might not be able to save Chu Chu this time. And I've even gotten myself into trouble. No, calm down, activate the spiritual pulse technique, and protect my chastity and integrity. Chapter 378. In the blink of an eye, the night fell. The 4th princess held Lin Muyu's arm and took him back to her bedroom. Although Lin Muyu didn't like it, she couldn't do anything about it. Beside her, a guard in his early 20s was looking at her with a worried look. Lin Muyu knew that things were not looking good. She returned to the bedchamber and placed the drunk 4th princess on the bed. She then turned around and looked at the guard. Young lad, what's your name? My name is Qingfang. Qingfang, what a strange name. Lin Muyu smiled and said, I can't sleep. Come out and take a walk with me. Yes. Under the moonlight in the courtyard, Lin Muyu looked at him and asked, You must have something to say to me, right? Say it, you can say it now. Qingfang hurriedly said respectfully, I'm doing my duty. There's nothing to say. Please rest early, Sir Spiritual King. Really? Lin Muyu squinted her eyes. The spiritual pulse spell had already been fully extended. Her spiritual power easily invaded Qingfang's brain. Soon Qingfang's pupils became empty, as if he was sleepwalking. Can you say it now? Lin Muyu gradually felt that she seemed to have controlled the guard's mind. Qingfang stood there without any light in his eyes. He murmured, Sir Spiritual King shouldn't sleep with the 4th princess. Why? Because the fourth princess's body has long been given to His Majesty. She is actually His Majesty's woman. Ah. Lin Muyu's mind was filled with a bunch of F***king horses again. She said, His Majesty won't even let his own daughter go. Yes. Qing Fong continued as if he was in a dream. His Majesty is lustful. He has slept with almost all the women in the palace. That's why he was so generous to give the fourth princess to you. Now I know. Lin Muyu said lightly, Qing Fong, where is the Dragon Abyss of Chaos? The Dragon Abyss of Chaos is an important place in the palace. It's guarded by 3 demon lords. It's about 500 meters southwest of the fourth princess bedroom. Alright. Lin Muyu slowly stopped using the spiritual pulse technique. Qing Fong's eyes lit up and he said, Spiritual Venerable, what happened to me just now? It's nothing. Go and protect the fourth princess. I can't sleep for the time being, so I'm going out for a walk. Yes. There were very few people in the Chaos Realm to begin with. Naturally, there were even fewer people in the palace. The fourth princess only had 1 guard. Lin Muyu left the palace and went straight to the southwest. Along the way, there was not a single guard, so she did not encounter any obstacles. Further ahead was a huge garden, but the periphery was blocked by iron fences. The fences were full of rust, so it should have been some time since anyone entered. A demon venerable came forward in the dark and said respectfully, Spiritual Venerable Linji, why didn't you sleep in the middle of the night? Why did you come here? I'm walking around. Lin Muyu smiled calmly. I heard there is a dragon abyss in the palace, so I really want to go in and check it out. The demon venerable laughed. Spiritual Venerable Linji, you must be joking. There is only death in the dragon abyss. What is there to check out? There is death, which means there is a strong enemy. That is what I want, Lin Muyu said calmly. The demon venerable showed respect on his face, and said, All right. If Spiritual Venerable wants to go in, I will pretend I know nothing. But you must be careful, and come back soon. Thank you. She jumped into the garden. In the center of the garden, there was a huge iron plate covering the entrance to the dragon abyss. The demon venerable walked forward and tried to move the iron plate away. The wind whistled from below, which sounded like ghosts crying and gods howling. It was very shocking. Do you need a torch? The demon venerable asked. No need. Lin Muyu drew out the dragon soul sword and said, I'm going down. Please stay here for me, Spiritual Venerable. Okay. Don't worry, Spiritual Venerable. Lin Muyu jumped into the dragon abyss and called out the golden gourd martial spirit in the air. The gourd vines quickly wrapped around the walls of the dragon abyss and flew over. Lin Muyu grabbed the stone wall of the dragon abyss and lifted up the dragon soul sword. He looked up and found the iron plate was covering the entrance slowly. Maybe the demon venerable was afraid of being discovered. Using the spiritual pulse art, Lin Muyu couldn't help but frown. The dragon abyss was full of powerful auras, and he couldn't tell if they were humans or beasts. He opened his palm and suddenly shouted in a low voice, Dawn! The light was so bright that it looked like a scorching sun. Under the strong light, Lin Muyu looked down and saw many dragons with wings on the walls of the dragon abyss. However, they weren't from the sacred dragon tribe, they were just a group of pseudo-dragons with wings. Lin Muyu couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. He didn't know where Chu Chu was. Lin Muyu moved down step by step. Not long after, a 5,400 years old giant winged dragon lazily looked up at the shining golden dragon soul sword and let out a roar. It slowly spread its wings and grabbed the vines on the wall with its claws. It quickly rushed over and opened its mouth to bite Lin Muyu's legs. The wind was cold. Lin Muyu was already prepared. He exerted strength in his palm, and the gourd vines pulled his body up for nearly 10 meters. He turned around and held the sword with both hands, and slashed down. The energy of the starlight appeared on the edge of the sword, and he slashed at the giant winged dragon's head. Bang! The starlight flashed, and the sword directly split open the giant winged dragon's head. Before it fell, Lin Muyu quickly used the sword to dig out some spirit stones and stuff them into his clothes. Then, with a crash, the giant winged dragon's body fell down rapidly, and the smell of blood spread out. Suddenly, the dragon abyss was filled with the roars of dragons. One after another, fire, wind, stone, and ice dragons spread their wings and flew around the dragon abyss, competing with each other for the corpse of the giant winged dragon. Half a minute later, only a pile of bones was left of the giant winged dragon, and it fell into the bottomless depths. Oh my! Lin Muyu couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. He gripped the dragon soul sword tightly, and continued walking down step by step. He had to find Choo Choo. Otherwise he would have come here for nothing. However, he was very annoyed. The spirit pulse technique couldn't distinguish the aura of Choo Choo from that of a dragon. Therefore, he couldn't find Choo Choo among the thousands of auras in the dragon abyss, and the height of the dragon abyss was at least a few thousand li. Even so, he still had to find him. Soon, Lin Muyu quickly killed another 6,100 years old three-clawed golden-scaled dragon. The moment he killed it, he plundered the spirit stones. Then, he used the spirit pulse technique to hide his aura, and watched as the corpse of the golden-scaled dragon was devoured by countless dragons. It was rare that these dragons were very greedy. After eating, they dozed off and didn't look for more food. After an unknown amount of time, Lin Muyu climbed all the way down. The dragon soul sword had already killed more than a dozen dragons, and he was so tired that he almost collapsed. Looking up, it was dark. The demon Venerable had sealed the dragon abyss, so he couldn't see if it was already dawn. He took out 2 military biscuits from his cosmos sack and ate them. After drinking some water, he rested for a while. Lin Muyu couldn't help but miss the days in the Empire. It was far better than the feeling of being dismembered by the dragons at any time. Gulp. Gulp. In the distance, a huge dragon was taking a nap. With the help of the faint light from the dragon spirit sword, one could see a total of 11 golden lines on its head. This was a 11,000-year-old spirit beast. It was best not to disturb its slumber. Lin Muyu carefully avoided it. The gourd vines of the golden gourd pulled her body across the wall and gently bypassed it. Voila! Suddenly, under the power of the vines on the wall, a whole piece of the decayed stone wall actually fell together. Ah! Lin Muyu quickly fell down. In a hurry, she waved the gourd vines, entangling whatever she could. Pa! The gourd vines accurately entangled the lower jaw of this 11,000-years-old dragon. Suddenly, it slowly opened its eyes. A pair of blood-red eyes were filled with ruthlessness. With a roar, it spewed out dragon flames from its mouth. In an instant, the dragon flames illuminated the surroundings. As a result, Lin Muyu's body was hanging under its mouth, swaying back and forth like a fish that had just been hooked. Roar, roar, roar. Roars sounded one after another. Almost all the huge dragons saw Lin Muyu and rushed over. It's over, it's over. Lin Muyu was secretly annoyed. She was too careless. She had actually awakened this long-lived giant dragon. It was really over for her now. Lin Muyu's nose was filled with the stench of blood. Countless giant dragons circled around and rushed over. A dragon with a sharp mouth quickly opened its mouth, and rows of steel needle-like teeth came crashing down. Was it trying to swallow Lin Muyu in one bite? Wang. The golden light of the god-binding chains shot up to the sky. The long sword in Lin Muyu's hand trembled. Lightning flashed, and the lightning strike directly chopped off the mouth of this 4,800-years-old sharp-beaked dragon. Lin Muyu's body spun, and the blade of the sword slashed at the group of dragons with sword chi. Immediately, it made them even more angry, and all of them opened their mouths to bite her. Bam, bam, bam. The dragon's mouths and dragon flames crashed into the wall of the gourd over and over again, and the wall was shattered in the blink of an eye. Lin Muyu could only rely on her suit of battle armor to defend herself, and her face had already turned completely livid. Her battle chi was being constantly depleted by the god-binding chains and the golden gourd, and her stamina was also gradually being depleted. Her sword strikes were becoming slower and slower. It's over. Am I going to die here? She couldn't help but wail internally. She used her remaining power to materialize another gourd wall. Her arms and legs had already been bitten by the sharp-beaked dragons, and Lin Muyu released the gourd vines in despair. She descended into the depths of the incomparably dark dragon abyss with the dazzling light of the golden gorge shimmering around her. Countless giant dragons were flying toward her from all directions. In her final moments, Lin Muyu couldn't say anything anymore. She was constantly thinking about Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi, but there was nothing she could say at a time like this. She could only silently point her middle finger at the giant dragons. She plummeted at a rapid pace, and her eyes suddenly lit up. She was greeted by the sight of a dazzling starry sky down below. It was over. Just as Devon had said, this chaos realm was a shattered star in space, and there was a boundless universe right below the dragon abyss. Right at this moment, a howl suddenly rang out, and Acatosaurus arrived without an invitation. Splat! A spatial rift had appeared right below her, and it had been forcibly torn open by Acatosaurus's sharp claws. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.